to drain my energy. The enemy is everything. It's mentally, unhealthily, spreading like a rare disease, but I won't let it get to me. I don't need your therapy. I can leave a legacy of leading by intensity. Come on, we can fight this. Freedom is priceless. Spread just like a virus. Living in a crisis. Do you feel courageous? Do you see greatness? Trust me, you can take it. Go on and take your aim. Yeah. Built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I can change the past with all.
Good afternoon, everybody. Y'all know who it is, man. It is your boy Darian coming to you live with another live stream. It is the Spotlight Raiders Talk. Shout out to all the subscribers that have subscribed to the YouTube page. And this is your first time ever being at the YouTube page. We highly suggest and recommend that you subscribe, hit the bell button, and get the latest news and all Raiders news, live streams, play-by-plays, anything of that nature. Make sure you follow Spotlight Raiders Talk on Instagram and on Twitter. Twitter is Spotlight Art and Talk, and on Instagram is Spotlight Raiders Talk. And if you want to see us on all audio podcast platforms as well, which will be Spotlight Raiders Talk or Spotlight Sports Network. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Nothing But Raiders podcast. We have a epic show for y'all today, and we have two guests. We'll have Raider Ben coming on a little bit later. I know a lot of people play like, oh, Raider Ben, but hey, it is what it is. You know, I love to collab with people that just give great vibes. That's just what it is. And we have Mario Tovar from RaiderRamble.com. It's going to be very, very interesting to hear what he has to say about the Raiders all season, everything of that nature. So before we get into him and bring him on, shout out to Dominique 5, Philly Sports Talk Podcast, Cliff 82, Almighty Finesse. What is going on, everybody? What is going on? And before we get into the show, I just see some very disturbing news about what's going on in Texas right now. It's very disturbing. About 15 kids in an elementary school were shot and killed. And I want to send my condolences and pray for Texas, because the person that was the shooter, I heard he killed himself too. I don't know how true that is, but it's a big story going around right now. So pray for Texas, ladies and gentlemen. And we just going to get into, football, because I really wanted to, shine light on that, because that's something that just happened literally right before I went live. I seen it all down my social media. I seen it everywhere of that nature. So I just had to shine a light with that situation there. So pray for those kids, pray for those families that's in Texas. But let's get straight into some Raiders football, ladies and gentlemen. From RaiderRamble.com, we have the guy that does mostly everything behind the scenes when it comes to RaiderRamble.com. I know I read a lot of their articles as well. Raider Ramble is definitely a great website to get your sources, to get your understanding about your Las Vegas Raiders. If you have not followed any of these guys on Twitter, great conversation with them. And I had a good time talking to them as well. So they said it was 14 students and a teacher. Wow. That's sad, man. That's really, really sad. But we have Mr. Mario Tovar in the building. Good afternoon, sir. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. And I just want to echo what you just said, for sure. Thoughts and prayers to those victims in Texas, man. It's getting tiresome, the senseless violence where the kids are always paying the price, but for sure, prayers out there. And like I said, thanks for having me on, man. I didn't know you were such a big fan of the website. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah, it's been some videos I did, according to your sources. So I'm not gonna sit there. I'm not gonna take all the heat for it, because when I find something online, I'd be like, shout out to Just Blog Baby or Raider Ramble. Shout out to them for the article, and I give my opinion on what y'all write. So I definitely am a big fan of Raider Ramble. I do got a lot of videos according to y'all and according to other sites, but Raider Ramble is one of my go-to. So it's really awesome to actually have y'all come up on the show.
Okay, appreciate that, man. And yeah, and I also write for Just Blog Baby, so I appreciate that shout out too, man.
Yeah, because Just Blog Baby, they be having some interesting stuff too. So I'll be like, okay, Okay, like yeah, I might have to talk about this, especially when it comes to the all season. Y'all definitely keep us in the loop when it comes to the all season. Not really too much to talk about when it
Mhm.
comes to like the NFL off season with with the draft and everything of that nature. Y'all really keep us in loop of what's going on. So as a content creator, I could find some things to maneuver and make things
Mhm.
work during the off season when I have my channel. So it's a real honor to actually have you on the show today. So um I have to say, man, how long you been doing like writing articles, doing journalism when it comes to like just for the Raiders? Because I don't know how
Mhm.
long Raider Ramble's been around, but let the people know that don't know about Raider Ramble and where y'all came from and how y'all was founded.
The backstory pretty much is, man, started writing about the Raiders, NFL in general too, back in 2016. And I used to write for Raiders Wire when it very first started.
Oh, Raiders
Uh,
Wire, another one. Yeah.
yeah, when I first started. And then I also started actually with Just Blog Baby when it was under like different management. It still belonged to Fanside, but it had a different editor and stuff. And it got started there. And after a few months, I was like, you know what? Like, maybe I should do my own thing, and I partnered up with a bunch of writers that were just as passionate too, obviously about the Raiders. I'm sure you follow some of them on Twitter. Some of those guys are still around, actually. Some of them still write to this day. And yeah, man, just been involved with different websites since 2016. I'm still with Just Blog Baby. I've been on and off since then, but it's a great platform. It's a great site. Oh, and then obviously with our own, the last few years have just been great. Just getting on different aggregators. Like we, for a long time, we were on Bleacher Report, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then this year, as an individual, I was able to finally start covering a lot of stuff live. Like I was at the Combine this year. I was at the Pro
Oh,
Bowl, stuff like that. It's been one hell of a ride, dude. Enjoy it. And it's made possible by support from the fans if you think about it, because if the fans don't read your content, or if the fans don't, like for example with you, if they don't watch your YouTube, then they're the ones who drive it. So I'm very grateful for Raider
right.
Nation in that regard, for
Oh,
sure.
that's crazy because I started doing YouTube like for Spotlight Sports Network, which is my second channel that I do all sports news like NFL, NBA, MLB, anything of that
Hmm.
nature. I started that in 2016, and
Yeah.
then 2017, that's when I created this channel for Spotlight Raiders Talk. Actually, this was the official channel of Spotlight Sports Network at one time, and then I seen how much of the Raider content was getting pushed out more than every other video. I just separated the two. So instead of being a Spotlight Sports Network, I just kept the Spotlight, just put Raiders Talk on there, and then did a whole nother channel of Spotlight Sports Network. So that's just around the same time you started out. I started out as well. So
Yeah, for sure. I've seen
that's
some.
just right
I've
there.
seen a lot of your videos too, man. A lot of them have gone viral and stuff. That's pretty awesome, man. It's good to see all Raiders content creators just blow up, and do their thing. And
Yeah.
a lot of them, just like me, you, whoever, they do it out of passion, and it just ends up becoming a career, ends up becoming a paid job, for a lot of guys. So
Right.
it's definitely a cool thing, man, for sure.
Yeah, because honestly, YouTube was my number one source around the pandemic, man. It was my number one
Mm.
source of income. And I was going live every day. And then I was going live every single day. The people in the chat can tell you, the people know, like I was going live 5 days a week and it burnt me out. Mind you, I had two channels. So if I have to go live on here, then like 2 hours later, I gotta go on the network and do that. So it was just like YouTube was that number one source around the pandemic time. So
And it worked out too, because if you think about it, man, last couple of seasons were just filled with so much drama.
yes.
Raiders football was year round. With Gruden, with Ruggs, all that. It was just the pandemic, all that. It just really provided 365 days of content. I think we might have to get used to the fact that McDaniel's and Dave Ziegler run a much tighter show, man, and it's not going to be as
Yeah.
much. It's not going
I
to be as
just
much
want it to be an
drama.
all positive season. I don't want no off the field antics from this. Like it seems like every year we do good in the off season, and then when
Yes.
it comes down to playing the games, is always something that set us back. I don't know if it's injuries or it's drama with Ruggs or Arnett, and
Mhm.
man, I just need a non-stressful season. I don't care if we don't make the playoffs or not. I just want it to be a non-off the field stressful season, basically.
Well, I don't know about your statement about the playoffs. I'm pretty sure a lot of people in your chat are going to disagree with that, but I see where you're coming from.
I'm just saying from a positive aspect. Listen, I don't want to get, what us Raiders fans, we get our hopes too high and we get very, very disappointed, and then we got to come back down on our high horse. So that's why everybody asks me, why I have not did a record prediction yet? Because we just don't know what our season. The last 2 years we started 6-3, and then we struggled the last games, the second half of the season. So I don't want to get too high horse and be like, we going 14 and something like that. And then it don't, I have my high floor, I have my ceiling. So
yeah, your best bet for a record prediction, man, is once training camp is over, because between now and then they could still make. I know everybody's saying that the roster is pretty much set. A lot of the beat writers are saying that it looks like the roster is set, but you never know. And not only that, man, but injuries happen all the time. I'm not trying to jinx anybody, but injuries happen all the time, So the depth chart right now, as we see it, it could be completely different by the time, training camp is over in particular positions, So that's smart. Though I would definitely hold off until training camp.
I'm definitely going to hold off. I might do a record prediction because I'm doing all 32 NFL teams on the Spotlight Sports Network, so I might do it for that. But I'm just, when it comes to this channel, I'll put my realistic. I wait till training camp for my realistic record prediction. But I don't know if you follow Raiders Scout on Instagram, but his name is Raiders.Scout. He has some inside sources with Raiders news, and I usually get my stuff from him too. And right before I went live, the running back from UTSA will be placed on IR. With Sincere McCormick.
Yeah, and that's a shame, man, because he killed it at the combine. I saw him, perform his stuff at the combine, and I was really hoping he'd have a. You always want to root for the underdogs. I think we all do, and he's definitely one of those. So it really was a shame that he's going to, went on IR for now. And I am familiar with the Raiders Scout because he actually wrote, I believe, 1 or 2 pieces for us at one point. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good kid. And, he's still in college, and he still takes the time out to find his resources and his sources when it comes to Raiders content or Raiders, news or rumors or whatever. But he's going to miss the whole 2022 season. Injury is unknown at this point when it comes to that. But it seems like when it comes to Raiders and running backs, we always find our gems at running back when it comes to undrafted free agents. And he probably would have been one of our gems if that happened. Because, we had Trey Reagans last year, which we didn't give enough. We didn't really give him time to play in the regular season when he did get pushed up to the 53-man roster. But he was a talent, and we ended up releasing him. And now, Sincere McCormick is done for the year. But it was a big running back room this year. And
for sure, man. And and it's not to say his career is over or anything like that. I mean, he could still definitely be a Raider. But it's just that we know how McDaniels runs the running back position. Just so by no means is he done or anything like that. That's what I was saying. I think once training camp gets underway, we're going to get a much clearer picture of how he plans on using a lot of these running backs, man, because they're loaded right now at that position.
It's very, very loaded. I'm really interested because I really was surprised after we got Dylan Parham. I knew that we was probably going to go offensive line. I was expecting to trade back to get an offensive lineman. Because people got on me about that because I did the first 2 days of the NFL draft live, and I said, okay, what was the reasoning of going back? Going down to what, number 90? I think we went down to number 90 from we went down to number 90, and I know we added some draft capital like for the next fewer rounds, but those same rounds that we got that we moved back for, we traded in the later rounds. So I was just thinking, like, why would we make the move for Parham just to trade those rounds again? But it's different now because we have Ziegler, we have McDaniels. It's a little bit different, but I thought we could have got Parham at like 86. I thought we could have probably got him there either way and still kept our picks, but people really got on me about that. I was just trying to think of it logically. What was the reason to move it back to 90? And we added more draft picks in the draft, but those draft picks that we added from Dylan Parham, we ended up trading those picks again. So it was just like, but I just see they were just trying to, play chess and not checkers.
That's exactly what it was, man. And at the end of the day, they got a really great pick with Parham. It's just that I know a lot of people were left scratching their heads. They didn't draft the right tackle. So that's still very much a concern. Because right now, if you think about it, if you look at the roster and the depth chart, the way it's currently constructed, and you're basically going to have a platoon. With Brendan Parker and Jermaine Lamore. That's not exactly. I know a lot of people are not exactly confident about that. That's why one of the recent pieces that I did actually for Just Walk Baby, I highlighted that one of the 10 free agents that they still needed to go after, that I think they should go after, I should say, in my opinion, is Darrell Williams, from the Bills. They still need to address right tackle, and I know I'm not the only one that's saying that for sure, but I think what they could do is they could pick up, for example, Darrell Williams, give themselves a stopgap solution for like a couple years.
Yes.
And this gives Ziegler a chance to, in his scouting department to do their due diligence, take their time, maybe draft a right tackle in the first round next year or the year after. Because if you think about it, you would have Darrell Williams, you would still have Brendan Parker. They're not going anywhere. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. That's something the way I would play the right tackle position because they didn't address it. Parham is going to be a guard or a center. He's either going to compete with Andrew James or he's going to be one of the starting guards either this year or next year. So there you go as far as right tackle.
Yeah, because really, not too long ago, I don't know, it was like a couple of days ago, Just Blood Baby put out, 10, I think it was like 10 free agents that the Raiders should still go after.
Yeah, I did that. I did.
You did that article?
Yeah, I did 2 of them actually. I did one a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, and I did an updated version that dropped yesterday because obviously Bradbury was a no-go, and a couple other guys are off the list. But I definitely emphasized Williams, and I also emphasized Landon Collins.
Yeah, Landon Collins was definitely on there. Because I'm actually looking at the article as we speak.
Yeah.
So, Landon Collins, AJ Abuye. I thought AJ Abuye was already signed, if I'm not mistaken. But if he's not, then I think, getting if we can't, knowing that we didn't go for Bradbury, I think we could get a Landon Collins or AJ Abuye for a minimum. I don't think we need to break the bank with those 2 corners at this. Well, Landon Collins plays safety, but AJ Abuye is a corner, but I think I don't think we could need to break the bank with those 2.
No, and they wouldn't necessarily break the bank. None of these cornerbacks are going to, warrant that type of money. I even wrote about Kevin King. These guys will all be depth pieces at this point. Trayvon Mullen and Rocky Center, they're counting on those 2 guys, especially Mullen, man. They're counting on him being healthy, which is still a question mark. They're banking that he's going to regain the 2020 form, even the 2019 form at this point. But that's what I think I emphasize at least one more corner going into camp. Once they do the June 1st cuts, we'll see what they do. But definitely defensive back, cornerback, and right tackle are still huge question marks in my opinion.
Even defensive tackle with Ndamukong Suh or Eddie Goldman?
Yeah, I was looking at that too. I think at this point, man, I don't think they're going to get Suh. And that's just my opinion. I think they just have so many defensive tackles, and they're probably just going to let them go out there, duke it out. Jonathan Hankins is going to be the nose tackle, obviously. I think that's pretty much, a for sure thing. But then the rest of the rotation, they're going to figure it out that way. They're just going to let these guys compete. They're all run stoppers. You certainly don't have any sort of elite pass rushing defensive tackle right now, and again, that's something that they could address next year as well. That's what I'm saying. I think what Ziegler did this year with the draft and what he's done so far in the offseason is give himself some time for next offseason where he have a full draft. He can draft a right tackle, a pass rushing defensive tackle, those, positions without having to break the bank, because we know how the Patriots ran their organization. Not necessarily breaking the bank for a lot of guys. One here and there, but that's just not going to be the way the Raiders do it anymore.
So I do see on here is a very interesting name on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't even heard his name. And I heard his name last year a few times that the Raiders should go get him.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos Dunlap.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very interesting name there. Even though we did get Chandler Jones and we still have Max Crosby, but I don't know what our depth is after that. Because we don't know what Cleveland Farrell was going to play now, since Patrick Graham is the defensive coordinator. We don't know because they talking about putting him at linebacker. He played a little bit of D tackle last year, played a little outside, edge last
Mm-hmm.
year as well. So we don't know what's going to happen with Cleveland Farrell. Carl Nassib is no longer there. I know he's 33 years old and he did have a better season last year, but do you think that would be a good depth piece, for us to get, behind Chandler Jones and Max Crosby with Carlos Dunlap?
Yeah, if you really look at the depth, okay, Crosby and Jones, those are going to be your 1 and 2 punch. We all know that, but
Right.
every team knows that too. They don't really have a whole lot of depth behind them as far as that hybrid defensive end, outside linebacker position that we know Patrick Graham is going to, run. That's why Yannick Ngakoue is no longer a Raider, because he just wasn't going to fit that mold. I definitely think Carlos Dunlap. I know there hasn't been any talk with the Raiders, but I think my point was sort of just the scheme fit. What he could bring as a depth piece behind Jones and behind Crosby, either one. Because again, we don't know exactly what they're going to do with Cleveland Farrell. I know he said that during the interview, but we have yet to see on the field how they're going to plan. Obviously, this is going to get cleared up once training camps get started. We're going to see, where he's lining up, where he's getting his snaps at. But for now, I definitely, if I was the Raiders, yes, I would definitely jump on Dunlap. He still had an effective season last year, despite being 33, man. So obviously, He still has something to prove. He brings championship pedigree. He brings familiarity with that sort of scheme. Playing that position, that hybrid position. Because if you think about it, that's what also I mentioned not Carlos, but Landon Collins. Patrick Graham's scheme is relying on a lot of versatility, a lot of moving pieces that play more than one position. So whether it's in the backfield, whether it's in the front seven, whatever it may be. That's why I did list Dunlap as a position, as a possibility, I should say. But like you said too, it depends on the money too. I don't think he's gonna come into a team and play for the veteran minimum either. So he still brings a lot.
He's getting up there in age. So if he had a good year last year, they're gonna try to do it the Patriots way. Well, the Raider way, as you can say now. So and 3 numbers said you wouldn't want Ndamukong Suh. Let me just highlight this real quick. You said you wouldn't want Suh. Don't get me wrong. I think both of us would want Ndamukong Suh. The question is, how much does Ndamukong Suh want?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to. The pricing. It comes down to what he wants. How much guaranteed money does he want? And can the Raiders really afford that? At this moment, I just don't think the Raiders can afford that. I mean, we getting about what? We were getting like $20 million after June 2nd, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then also the other thing too is he really going to leave the Bucs, man? He's in a perfect position right now to go for another Super Bowl. With Brady coming back. That's not to say, the Raiders are not going to be a playoff contender or anything like that. I know we haven't gotten into that yet, but I mean, he's going to go with the sure thing with the Bucs. He would be leaving, whether it's the Raiders or anybody else. He would be leaving a very sure thing with Brady going back. They're easily the favorites in the NFC, at least one of the top 3. Just with Brady coming back alone. So yeah, I just don't see it happening, man. Whether it's the money, whether it's the team itself, but you never know. You never know with Ziegler. So that's
right.
Too. Yeah.
You never know, because I mean it was so much talk about, which we're going to get into the Devontae Adams thing as well. But a lot of people I was getting on the fence to a point like, okay, the Raiders is what they're going to do with this Devontae Adams. That all these rumors are coming out, and then unexpectedly, boom, we traded for him during free agency. And that was epic in itself. But we're going to get more into that because I want to get more into these, still free agent targets. But a former Raider is on this list though, Vincent Mayowa.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you said you wrote this one, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I mean, I did like him when he was here. I
Mm-hmm,
just think he never really had a chance,
mm-hmm.
to really show his talent with the rotation of the defensive line. And
No, for sure.
he was with the Seattle Seahawks as well. And I think he bounced around to some other teams. But what made you put him on the top 10?
I think strictly as just a cheap depth addition. You know, obviously in 2020, he actually had a really good year in 2020 by his standards. I mean, 6 sacks, 7 tackles for a loss, 3 pass deflections. He was still effective in Seattle's system. But obviously, 2021 kind of just fell off, So, strictly speaking, if they need a depth piece, cheap, he's not going to command any sort of big money or anything. That's somebody they could look after. But I mean, if you had your choice, I mean, you got to go with Dunlap. If that is what you're trying. Do you want to go with the cheap option with the potential upside, but going to be relatively cheap, or do you want to spend a little bit and get Dunlap? And get something that gets someone in there that is going to provide quality depth behind Jones and Crosby. That's just my opinion.
And speaking of the wide receiver position, knowing that we've been hearing rumors about Hunter Renfrow getting a contract extension, I did put a small video out about that as well. If y'all have not checked that out, make sure y'all check that out here on the Spotlight Raiders Talk. Brian Edwards got traded. We added some other receivers like Mac Hollins and some unknown receiver from the Houston Texans. I forgot his name. I did a little video on him as well. I totally forgot his name. He really didn't play any games, but Houston, he been on the practice squad. But we got a lot of depth pieces at the wide receiver position. And on your Raiders free target list, you have T.Y. Hilton there. Mm-hmm. This is a very interesting one for me because he couldn't stay healthy with the Colts the last couple of seasons. So I'm kind of nervous about what his health is like, especially he had a neck injury too. So that was a big concern. Once I see it on the article like T.Y. Hilton, I know he has the talent, and I know that he's still good when he's healthy. So what made you put him on this list as a wide receiver to go get? Because I know he could play the number 2 receiver but his size, he looks like a slot receiver in some sort. So I want you to break this down to me about T.Y. Hilton because I'm not really too sure about it as a number 2.
Yeah. Well, first of all, he wouldn't be the number 2. We all know who number 2 is.
Right.
So let's get that out of the way. I think what a lot of people are concerned about is that, okay, you have Devontae Adams, you have Hunter Renfrow, that's, and obviously Waller at the tight end position. But after that, there's like a sharp drop off. You know what I mean? Right. That's why I also put, I'm sure you noticed Odell Beckham Jr. as well.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people are saying, a lot of people were like, oh, what's the fascination with Odell? And it's not so much that there's a fascination. It's just that if the Raiders can pick up either one of these guys, now both of them are coming off injuries, major injuries at that. Mm-hmm. So, but if they're healthy, I mean, you mean to tell me that an offense with the 3 I just mentioned and either Hilton or Odell isn't going to be loaded? I mean, that's quite the passing attack right there. But again, I think going back to your original question about Hilton, I think it's just looking at his health. If he's truly healthy, he still has some of the best body control, man. He's had, just as a possession receiver, and he'll still get you yards. And last time I checked, the Raiders are trying to improve the red zone. He can still be a red zone threat. He'll get you touchdowns, which is what the Raiders need more of anyways. So I think that's the thing with these 2 guys, if they're healthy. I know Odell's the sexy, trending, like everybody wants him on his team, Cowboys, Rams. I know Rappaport says that more than likely he might end up back with the Rams anyways after all this is, said and done. Mm-hmm. But as we've both seen already, we just don't know with Ziegler. We don't know what's going to happen after June 1st. What about when camp gets, rolling? What if they decide, what, we do need the 3rd receiver, or at this point, the 4th receiver, because Waller is, technically the 3rd. So that's mostly why I picked these 2 guys. They're obviously the flashiest names. I get that. But, I mean, if you're going to go all in, you better go all in. You know what I mean?
Now, if I had to pick, I mean, I will go with Odell over T.Y. Hilton. And I don't know if Odell's going back to the Rams because it's going to be hard for him to try to compete with Allen Robinson. Because Allen Robinson did sign with the Rams as well. So I think, Odell is on the outside looking in. And we do have Keelan Cole, but Keelan Cole he's good, but is he an Odell or T.Y. Hilton? No. But he definitely can contribute to this offense. And even though it's been rumors about another wide receiver that's in New England, which is Nelson Aguilar. I don't people think that Nelson Aguilar will come back to the Raiders. Me personally, I don't see it happening. Because he's still under contract with the Patriots at this moment.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have to get released because if we trade, that means we have to give up somebody or some picks to go get him. And I know Nelson Aguilar wants to be at least a number one or at least a number two. He's not going to be that here. I just don't see Nelson with Hunter the way Hunter Renfro's been playing and getting Devontae Adams and Waller as a tight end. Where does Nelson Aguilar? I know it's a drop off, but he's going to really be a number 3 receiver on the depth chart because Wallace is really considered a tight end.
Yeah,
we all know that he could play the receiver spot, but as far as the depth chart though, he's going to be the number 3 person. So, then Keelan Cole might be number 4. Mac Hollins might be on the outside looking in. So, I just don't see the reason for Nelson Aguilar. I know he had a good chemistry with Derek Carr, and he had one of his best years of his career here. But that's when he was with a bunch of receivers outside of Hunter Renfrow, and Ruggs was still trying to come into himself as a player at the time, and Brian Edwards was still trying to come into his player as a rookie. I just don't see Nelson Aguilar coming here, but I just wanted to give see what's your thoughts about that.
Oh, for sure. And don't forget, too, not only did he have his best year as an individual with Carr, but he also has the connection with Josh McDaniels and Ziegler with the Patriots.
Right.
So he has that history, too. But you're right. I don't see him. It's almost like you're asking – you would pretty much be asking either Aguilar or Odell or even T.Y. Hilton to take a reduced role, But at the same time, somebody like OBJ might see it as like, hey, look at this loaded roster, He has a Super Bowl right now. What's to keep him from saying, hey, let's go for another one and load up this offense? He has that luxury. With Aguilar, he's still under contract. So it would require a trade. It would require a release. I just don't see it happening. And then there's also that story, too, of the whole thing with the locker room. I know there's conflicting articles, different conflicting stories that have, come out since he left the Raiders. Some people say he, quit on the locker room. Some people say he went at it, whatever it may be. So it's like, would he be welcomed? Even though it's a completely different coaching staff, it's a completely different regime now. But a lot of those players are still there, especially on offense. They're still there. So we don't, neither one of us is in the locker room. Would he be welcome back? We don't really know that part. None of us really know. We're not in the locker room. We're not one of the players. So we also have to take that into consideration. Even there's, like I said, there's conflicting stories on, what really went down there. But for sure, out of those 3, I would say Aguilar is probably the least likely, in my opinion.
So we could get straight into a few comments that we have here. One from Raider Casper said, I think Keelan Cole will be good for us. He could take the top off with his route running. And he creates space in small spaces. He could go up and get the ball like 90% of his TDs are in the red zone. My only problem with Keelan Cole is he has an injury history too. So that's another thing too. He does have an injury history. I know he had some of his best years in Jacksonville. And then he had an okay year last year with the Jets. But if he can stay healthy, I think this is a sneaky move by the Raiders to get in Keelan Cole. He's not a big name. He's not a sexy name at all, like a T.Y. Hilton or a Odell Beckham Jr. But if he could come in and be that number 3 spot, then I wouldn't. If he could come in and contribute and take the load off of Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow and be productive, I wouldn't mind it if we don't get Hilton or Odell Beckham.
For sure. That's a good one. But you know who else I think a lot of people are sleeping on is Tyron Johnson too, who could play that role, who could take out the he's fast, man. I actually went back and I looked at some of his stuff from his combine. He's fast. If nothing else, he's fast, and he actually has had a few productive how would you say it? I guess you could say stretches, in his career. So I think he's actually somebody who's getting slept on, to be honest, as far as playing that third, possibly fourth receiver role for sure.
I could definitely see competition between Johnson and Cole in training camp for that number 3 spot at the wide receiver position. I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
And of course you spoke about it for the people that was not here
Mhm.
for the beginning of the podcast. Offensive tackle Darrell Williams from the Buffalo Bills. This is the one guy that we really have to get. Now we talked about, the wide receiver position. The only way these wide receivers can get the ball if you have a clean pocket. And that's what Derek Carr needs is protection. So getting a Darrell Williams and having, that type of veteran on the line with this young core, even though Colton Miller is a veteran too, Denzel Good is a veteran too, but Illuminor is still young, Parham's still young, Parker's still young. He could come in and really help out these guys. Leatherwood, another one that's young. So if we could get at least one or two veterans for that offensive line to help this young core, it really will help out as much. So my thing is the value of getting Darrell Williams. Like, what do you think the Raiders would have? How much do you think the Raiders would have to pay to go get him? And what is the reason he's not picked up yet? So that's another concern too.
That's actually a good question because realistically, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, we could definitely base it off his previous contract, but I think the biggest thing isn't so much that he's too expensive or he's too cheap or whatever it may be. But I think the key for the Raiders is because of the cuts, the June 1st deadline. They're not really in a good shape right now to pick up anybody. I think that's probably the big reason why they weren't able to get Bradbury. They were basically what had happened was the Raiders were going to have to wait and hope that nobody made a move and nobody was aggressive and went after Bradbury. But in the end, that's what happened. They lost out on him, and and it's probably one of the reasons why not just Darrell Williams, but they can't really pick up anybody right now. That's why I think once camp gets rolling around and we can start to see how the roster's coming together, who knows? Maybe this current coaching staff actually likes what they see at right tackle, and they're probably like, hey, maybe we don't need to, pick up anybody. So it just depends, because if you look at Darrell Williams' previous contracts and stuff, you could definitely compare. But at the end of the day, does it really matter if the Raiders are not in a financial spot right now to pick up anybody? Again, that's why I think they lost out on Bradbury.
Absolutely. And I really thought that we was going to go after Bradbury because what the Eagles got him for, they got him for dirt cheap, in my opinion. The Eagles got him for dirt cheap, and the Eagles, I mean, they did what they had to do. They needed corners just like we do, but I mean, I think what he only getting $10 million from Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken. I don't even think that's guaranteed. I think it's a 1 year deal, and the overall contract is $10 million. So I think he really took a pay cut to go somewhere and play for 1 year and wait for the salary cap to go up next season. Then he could find or probably stay with the Eagles and re-sign for more money. You never know. Or hey, we might go after him next year. Hey,
that's true. Yeah, because for example, if you look at Williams' contract, the last one that he signed with the Bills, had a signing bonus of almost $5.5 million. So it's not exactly he's not going to be somebody going to get on the cheap by any means.
Yeah,
is he somebody that you need to break the bank on? Probably not. But again, I think it's more so, whether not so much that a player are they too expensive or too cheap, but it's just that the Raiders were just not in a position just yet to go after somebody, and but we'll see what happens after June 1st, I should say.
Yeah, after June 1st, a lot of questions is going to be answered, guys. So make sure y'all stay tuned, especially go to RaiderRamble.com or go to JustBlogBaby.com or even Raiders Wire. They have all good content when it comes to articles and keeping you up to date with all the Raiders news. But Raiders Rambles is the first one first. That's what it is. Go to RaiderRamble.com. Support everybody, but RaiderRamble.com. Make sure y'all go and check them out there. Now, what was your reaction to this? Because this is the last wide receiver question. Then we could go into the running backs, because that's going to be a very interesting conversation. Davante Adams, what was your reaction when we traded our first and second round picks for Davante Adams, knowing that Aaron Rodgers just signed this big behind contract, and we still was able to get this guy. So, what was your first initial reaction when we got Devontae Adams?
I think that my reaction was just like everybody else's, man. Nobody saw that coming. For the last like going into there, what maybe a couple months, you would read articles that they were being linked. That when was it? I believe it was Derek Carr who at one point said he would welcome him. That he would love to play with him again. Devontae Adams, went ahead and echoed the same statement, I believe. But every offseason you get those stories. You get different stories about people who want to play together and old teammates. So it just
Yeah,
seemed like a lot of just off-season filler, if that makes sense. Sort of
yeah,
like, it's not going to happen. But I think people didn't really just weren't expecting Ziegler to turn out to be the type of general manager that he has. He keeps everything close to the vest. He doesn't let anybody, give out any sort of leaks or anything like. Because if you think about it, nobody saw that move coming. Like nobody,
right.
nobody until the story was broken by the NFL insiders. But my initial reaction was definitely shocked. I was like, wow, like this is really happening. You would start to read the headlines and stuff, and you're like, wow, this is really happening, man. But I'm sure, my reaction was the same as everybody else's. All the other Raider fans out there that were just like, wow, like this is sort of disbelief, maybe, disbelief at first, like, wow, he really just pulled this off. Obviously, my instant reaction too, though, was they just gave up a first and second round pick, so that's always like, hey, that's a high price tag.
Yeah,
But then when you consider how the first and second round, especially the first round, how it played off with all the top wide receivers, pretty much the top, the elite prospects were gone by then.
yeah,
So, my mock drafts, everybody's mock drafts pretty much went out the door because we all thought, oh, with that 22nd pick, the Raiders will
mhm,
pick up a wide receiver. But then you look at what was available by then, there's just no way none of those rookies would have had the same impact as the Devontae Adams. And it's not a
right.
diss, towards any of those players, but keep it in perspective, because originally I think everybody's mock drafts had a wide receiver at that spot. But if you
Yeah,
look at most of those wide receivers were off the board by then. So,
people
you know,
traded up, and it was a
yeah.
lot of drama in the first
Oh yeah.
night. It's a
Yes.
lot of
Yeah.
drama, and
A lot of drama.
I was kind of happy that we did trade for him because Drake London was off the board. The
Mm,
guy from Arkansas was off the board. Most of the top receivers was off the board within like 15 to 17 picks already.
yeah. Yeah, they were gone by then. And yeah, I mean, I think we could do a whole episode on that first round, man. That was crazy. Whether it was Bill Belichick reaching on that offensive lineman or all the different trades and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to the next draft. I would really want to see what Ziegler can do, with a full draft class.
Because we gonna have a lot of draft picks next season.
Hmm.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
really interesting to see what Ziegler and McDaniels could do with a lot of those draft picks next season. Yeah, my initial reaction was insane. I was actually laying on the couch watching NFL live, and I was just like, "What?
Yeah.
Let me go live on my phone real quick." I had on a white beater and everything. I was just chilling because I came home from work, and it was insane. I'm like, we got Devontae Adams. I'm like, I have a Packers analyst on the Spotlight Sports Network, and he went off about about the Devontae Adams trade. He's like, at least you could have got a person, a player swap or something of that nature for Devontae Adams, but we got the 22nd overall pick in the first round, and they end up getting Devontae Wyatt with that 22nd overall pick,
Hmm.
which I thought, even if we didn't get a wide receiver in the first round, I thought we probably would go offensive line or D tackle in the first round, one or the other. If we did, if no wide receiver was on the board, but yeah, he went off, and I just had to I had to laugh at that video so much. It was insane when people say that, you know we got Devontae Adams, and our Super Bowl chances went up, and it was a great day in Raider Nation that we finally did something right at the wide receiver position. So it's good to see Devontae in that silver and black. He's back with Derek Carr, and I can't wait to see it. I definitely can't wait to see it. Matthew Lincoln said, "Will Palomalu's nephew be a starter?" Are you talking about the he played corner, right? For USC, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, the undrafted
yeah,
free agent.
hmm yeah. His
I don't
nephew.
know about him being a starter, but I could definitely see him making the team. I don't know about him
For
being
sure.
a starter.
If nothing else, he definitely has the pedigree.
Yeah,
So he could definitely. But I think this whole, if you really think about it, not just him, but the whole undrafted free agent class that they put together this year is actually pretty solid.
yeah,
And I think, but that's part of the problem too, is that they needed to really hit it out of the park with that class because of the relatively small number of picks that they had. They only had 6 draft picks this year, so Ziegler really had to work his magic and bring in a bunch of free agents that maybe not starters right away, but definitely depth pieces. And the Raiders aren't strangers to turning undrafted guys into starters. That's not they do it all the time. They've done it historically, so I wouldn't be surprised. He definitely has the name. He has the pedigree, so I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't see. Oh, he plays safety. Okay, but I won't. I still wouldn't see him as a starter. But do I see him making the 53-man roster as far as a depth piece for the safety position? I could definitely see that happening. That's one thing I can say, Matthew. I could definitely see that happening. We're going to
For
get
sure,
into the
for sure.
defense. Yeah, we definitely want to get into the defensive side of the ball, but I want to get into the last part of the offense, and that is the running back position. Because as far as tight end, we already know what we got at the tight end position. We did pick up a tight end in free agency from Utah, if I'm not mistaken, an undrafted free agent. But running backs, this has been the biggest question in the offseason when we picked up Zamir White from Georgia in the draft. Um, and then right before that, Jacobs is not getting his 5th-year option with the Las Vegas Raiders, so he looked like he's going to become a free agent at the end of this season. What are your thoughts about how the running back room is shaping up? We got Brandon Bolden, Amir Abdullah, Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake. We have a lot of people in this backfield. So how you feel is going to shape out, and do you think Josh Jacobs will remain with the Raiders, after this season?
As far as Jacobs, I think it's just going to depend largely how he does this year. At the same time, though, I know it's not looking good. I know they didn't pick up the 5th-year option, and right away people are making the connection to the Patriots, historical handling of how they manage the running back position. But he's definitely going to be. He's still the star. The running offense is still going to go through him. Obviously, you still got Kenyon Drake, he was doing great, until he got injured. So he's definitely both of those guys are still going to be your number one and your number two duo next year. Obviously, with Drake's contract, though, it's crazy how it's structured. How the previous administration went ahead and structured his contract, but he is nearing the end of that, and he's actually going to earn almost $4 million next year. So it's going to depend, man, because you definitely have to see how the new duo, Ziegler and McDaniels, how they feel about Jacobs and Drake, moving forward. I'm talking about after 2022, depending on what happens. Because even if they have great years, maybe they feel that what they've drafted and what they've put together this offseason, maybe it's enough to move forward with it. We saw that year in and year out with the Patriots. It's just a very, how would you say it, just an expendable, position. So I wouldn't really expect them to be dropping that type of money anymore on that position, which is, we all know what Josh Jacobs did last season. He basically carried that team towards the end, into the
Yeah.
playoffs. So, but that is the business of football. It's a new sheriff in town, and they value the position much differently than the previous administration did. That's just how it happens. At least when you got guys like Brandon Bolden and Mir Abdullah, I think they're just bodies, camp bodies. Figure out the rest of the chart, because like I said, you got your 1-2 punch, but then the one that everybody's really interested in is Zamir White. I think
Mhm.
that's the one that everybody's keeping an eye on, and well, what is he really going to show out of the gate? How much playing time is he going to get? In college, he averaged more than 5 yards per carry. So the talent is there. He's huge. He's got the size. You know, he blocks, run block, pass blocking, I should say. So he's got all that stuff ready to go. But how much time is really going to get? Because like I said, I would he'd probably be number three at this point. He'd probably be your third running back. And then you still have Britton Brown too from UCLA. Like
Right.
I said, they really just loaded up. Right now he's definitely a rotational piece. He's part of that platoon. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you got Josh Jacobs and then the rest of the running back stable is pretty much just a platoon, and a committee
Yeah.
approach. Phil Robinson over here at the Raider Ramble, he wrote a really good piece recently where he pretty much outlined how this committee is going to look. You got your 1-2 punch, then you got a little bit of a drop off with all these youngsters, because you got to figure out what the roles are going to be. And again, once camp gets rolling, we'll know. Now we know, obviously, McCormick is on IR, so things
Yeah.
like that are already shaping up. But as far as 2022 immediate future, I am excited to see how McDaniels utilizes both Drake and Jacobs. I think it's going to be very interesting when you look at what he's done with New England, with arguably less talented running backs, maybe,
Mhm.
sort of they were more of a product of their system as opposed to when he's coming in with the Raiders. He has really two talented running backs, man. So I'm really excited to see what he can do with that, with his play calling.
Now, just to throw out there that Zamir White comes from a running back committee college at Georgia, so
Mm-hmm.
he's not used to being all three down back. He's not used to being a starter. He could come off the bench and still contribute in situational down. So that's what makes Zamir White a little bit different from the other running backs that we have. I think Zamir White he's good in the. I think he'll be learning how to be more of a pass catching, running back as well. Because I watched Georgia because my uncle's a Georgia Bulldog fan and he talks about Zamir White so much and how their running back committee is always good year in and year out with all the running backs coming through from Georgia that's in the NFL right now. So I think he's used to being a part of the running back committee. Me personally, I see more of Amir Abdullah as a like a punt return or a kick return specialist. I think it
Mm-hmm.
really helps out to not put Hunter Renfro out there on punt returns, and you could put Amir Abdullah back there, or you could put, like Tyler Johnson or Mac Hollins or something of that nature. But I really see Amir Abdullah more of a special teams guy than actually getting reps in the backfield because he does have that talent to be a returner.
No, for sure. And I think you nailed it too, man. They really got to get Renfro out of special teams. Like, and it's not to
Yeah.
say, just you don't want him to produce or anything like that. But oh man, I know every time he returns something, Raider Nation holds their breath, because it's like at any given time he can get hurt, So, and that's not to say they don't value whoever they put out there, but Hunter Renfro is a very important part of the offense. So if you can go ahead and minimize his role in special teams, I think that's something they really need to start doing this season. And I'm sure McDaniels will do his homework, and he'll probably look at it that way too, where it's like he doesn't want his, arguably one of the best slot receivers in the NFL, get him off special teams already, man.
Yeah,
So
I think it's time for Hunter Renfro to just give up special teams and just focus on being the receiver that we know that we can't afford injuries with Hunter Renfro at this point. We
yeah,
just can't.
yeah.
And I'd be nervous every time he goes out there for punt return because I was actually at the Jets game
Mm-hmm.
when he got hurt as a punt returner. I think it was a punt return, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it was punt return or he was running a route or something of that nature. But I remember when he went down and had that real bad concussion, and that was in New York. It wasn't the one that Henry Ruggs had the game winning touchdown. It was the year before that
Mm-hmm.
when he got hurt, and I was just like, "Up, this game is over," because we was getting our behind kicked anyway. That game, so we was getting
Hey,
our
you know
behind
what?
kicked that
If
game.
you want speed, put Tyron Johnson back there.
Yes.
He's had a lot of experience with the Chargers and previously with the with his Jacksonville.
Mhm.
So that's something else to get explore. Anybody but Hunter Renfro, just because of the value how valuable he is to the
Mhm.
Raiders. It just at this point it doesn't really make sense to still trot him out there on special teams, man. You're just begging for an injury.
Awesome, awesome. So we are going to add one more person to the show here, ladies and gentlemen. from Just Win Baby podcast. Y'all probably know him around the way on YouTube. Been all over YouTube from doing gaming, doing Raiders content. We have Mr. Raider Ben in the building today. Good
What's going
afternoon,
on?
sir. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you, gentlemen, for having me on. Hopefully, everybody's having a smooth day. I just got done picking up my daughter from school, and it's like 103 degrees outside, and it's not fun. Thank God for central AC.
Actually, I just had a real hot weekend in Philadelphia, even though it was almost to 100 degrees out here this past week. I'm happy today that it cooled down a little bit. So y'all can keep the heat over there for right now. Because I know how listen, I wanted a summer, but I didn't want a hot, crazy summer.
Yeah.
So I could definitely get into that. So we was just talking about a few things on the offensive side as far as like by position. Talked about everything on the offensive side. So not to bring back everything, but one thing I do want to ask you: what was your initial reaction for Devontae Adams?
Well, we were talking about this for weeks on my show. Actually, he's in the chat right now, Jack Bauer 24. We were saying, dude, we were preaching it, I'd say, for about 2 weeks before we made it official. We're gonna get Devontae Adams. And I had made it very clear on the show that this was when they still had Tyreek Hill. In my opinion, the best way to beat Kansas City isn't to try to stop Kansas City, it's to try to outscore Kansas City. And I felt the Raiders' best opportunity to beat Kansas City was to go get Devontae Adams, make noise on the offensive side of the ball, go toe for toe with that team like we did when we had Ruggs. So I won't say I was surprised. I was just a little bit surprised because I think we all thought it was just, a dream that we would get him. You know what I mean? Because there was all these franchise tag, this, that, and the third. But one thing I will tell you is he makes the Raiders competitive on the offensive side of the ball right now. That's what I'll tell you about that.
Awesome. So we're going to get into I really want to get into the defensive side of the ball because we have our highs and lows on the defensive side of the ball. We added a lot of acquisitions. We lost a lot of players too on the defensive side. Traded Yannick to the Colts. We got Rock Ya-Sin in return. We added Chandler Jones, which I think me personally is a little bit better than Yannick when it comes to run stopping, in my opinion. Yannick can't stop the run to save his life. That's just my personal opinion. Linebacker is kind of iffy there with me, which hopefully we could probably do something in the free agency if we could find some type of veteran linebacker at some point. Secondary, we could definitely talk about as well, but I really want to get into that defensive line rotation with Max Crosby. We got Chandler Jones. We have Nichols at D tackle. We re-signed Jonathan Hankins. We have a few other defensive tackles there. So, Mario, what are your thoughts about the defensive line coming in right now? With OTA started today and everything. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, man, the way it stands right now, if you really look at the interior, they just have a bunch of good run stoppers. That's really what they went after. The defense is going to come and go with however Crosby and Chandler Jones end up doing. I think that's going to be the key. As far as the linebacker spot, though, I think that they'll be okay. Don't really foresee them adding anybody as far as the linebacker spot. I think you're going to see a lot of Denzel Perriman, obviously, and then you're going to possibly have Divine Diablo. I think other than that, I don't foresee any sort of major additions. Now, obviously, the secondary, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but as far as the defensive line, definitely, man, the spotlight is on Max Crosby. They got him, Chandler Jones. They got him. I mean, you said that. I think it's kind of. I'm sure everybody would agree that Yannick isn't exactly the world's best run defender, but it could also be argued that Chandler Jones is actually a better pass rusher as well, a much more refined and much more complete pass rusher. So, as far as the defensive line, it's going to come and go depending on how Max Crosby does this year. To be honest, it's going to be all on him to really take it to get this defense to the next level. We already saw what he did last year, so what more can he do? It's basically finish and complete more sacks. That's going to be the key. We've seen the pressures. He lit up the league last year. So at this point, it's just about a matter of him, upping the sacks, which he might end up doing just based on the fact that Chandler Jones is going to, is the type of player that commands a double team just like Crosby does. So offenses are going to have to decide which one are we going to go with, which one are we going to zero in today, because you're not going to be able to stop both of them. I think that's what's scary about this defensive line.
Yeah, I actually have to agree with that. And we talked about Cleveland Farrell as well. He might be playing a little bit of edge or a little bit of outside linebacker with the young Devon Diablo. I'm just really concerned about the depth part of the linebacker position. That's the only concern that I really have. That's why I'd be like, it's kind of iffy, because we have Devon Diablo. Cool. We have Denzel Perriman, and Cleveland Farrell might be another outside, but it really drops after that. So it just kind of nervous for me. But Ben, I do want to hear your thoughts, about the defensive line as well, and the linebackers. And we talked about a few free agents as far as like the defensive line / edge, like Carlos Dunlap, a few other players that's out there as well. So what are your thoughts about the defensive line so far now? What you see, going into OTAs and stuff like that?
In terms of the talent that we've added, especially on the outside with Chandler Jones, I think is great. I think that's going to help Max Crosby a lot. I think, you guys kind of hit it straight on the head in terms of, Yannick Ngakwe's production against the run. He's not the greatest run defender. But the thing with me, it's going to come down to a lot of what's going to happen with that defensive tackle position. We can sit here and talk about Max Crosby and Chandler Jones till the cows come home. You know what I mean? But if we're not able to get that pressure up the middle, quarterbacks are going to continue to do what they've done to us for 20 years since we've got rid of Warren Sapp, and that's just step up in the pocket on us. They're going to continue to do that on us. We got to hope that, some of these young guys that we brought in can give us some solid production inside. That was one of my biggest issues when Cleveland Farrell announced he was going to play linebacker, is I honestly like Cleveland Farrell on the inside a lot more. From what I saw in the short amount of time, we didn't see him much at all last year, but his extended period of time, the year before that, he got a ton of his production from the inside. I don't like him athletically at outside linebacker. I don't. I think Max Crosby's a little bit more athletically inclined than him, and so is Chandler. I think he's more of the prototypical hand in the dirt defensive end. That's just my opinion on Cleveland Farrell. But it's in terms of that defensive line, in my opinion, we got to get a solidified defensive tackle, because we got our guys. We got our bookends. We got our guy at defensive end. We got our guy at the other defensive end. We need that guy inside. If we don't get that guy inside, like Mario said, they're going to slide. They're going to shift their line one way or the other, and then they're going to trap one side. You know what I mean? Then they're going to force the other guys to beat a one-on-one. So that's my thing with the D line, just because I want to make it to where our outside pass rushers can get as many one-on-ones as possible. I think it's very imperative that somebody steps up on the inside, and that's one of the reasons why I'm a big proponent of Ndamukong Suh. I think he can come in and demand some double teams. He's a little up there in age, but on a limited snap count, I think he can come in on passing downs and be a good addition for us. In terms of linebackers, I really like our linebackers. I like Jayon Brown. I think Jayon Brown's a sneaky good acquisition. I think a lot of people are going to be sleeping on him. Very athletic, can cover tight ends, and can also play the run game very well. Athletic. He ran like 4.5, lower 4.5, 4.4 in college. He's a good player. I think him and Perryman, if we do run the traditional 3-4, which would be Max and Chandler on the outside, the two middle linebackers, I think Perryman and Jayon, I like that. I'm a little concerned with Divine. I love Divine. Don't get me wrong. I love everything about him. I think he's a little wet behind the ears still. I think he needs some work. But I think sitting behind Perryman and Jayon's going to work wonders for him. You hit it on the head. What scares me is depth. We've seen, the linebackers take hits in previous seasons, not having the depth to rebound from that. I think they need to add some more depth to the linebacker core. But in terms of this defensive front, I think the defensive tackle is still a huge glare for me. Hopefully, one of these guys can step up. I've heard good things about Neil Farrell, the defensive tackle we got from LSU as well.
Yes.
So let's just hope that we can get some production out of those guys. If we can get some production up the middle, I think we're in line for a very legitimate front four this coming season.
And just to throw it out there, even though we did get Neil Farrell, we did get Matthew Butler from Tennessee as well, another SEC defensive tackle. I'm a Tennessee fan, so I'm gonna be completely biased here. I love him because I'm a Tennessee fan. I always loved the University of Tennessee. Always wanted to go to school there. That was one of my favorite colleges. I always wanted to go to. So Matthew Butler, I've been watching him for the 3 years that a couple of years that he was with Tennessee. And when he's healthy, he's a different type of monster. And he was healthy last season, so he played all the games. So it's going to be very interesting to watch. But I know Mario said he has home duties and stuff like that. So for the people in the chat, where can they find you, Mario? Because RaiderRamble.com is one of the websites that I get most of my sources from.
Yeah.
So where everybody else can find you, like on Twitter, Instagram, anything of that nature?
Yeah. Well, like you said, RaiderRamble.com. You can actually drop your email, and you'll get your articles delivered straight to your email every day. So saves you a few clicks. And as far as social media, obviously Twitter at the Raider Ramble. You can follow me too at _ Mario Tovar. We used to be on Instagram. We're going to probably be relaunching our Instagram page, so I'll keep you posted about that. That's always a fun way to interact with Raider fans. There's a lot of Raider fans on Instagram that aren't active on Twitter, and vice versa. We also have a very big group on Facebook that we're almost at 2,000 followers, so we're trying to build up the Facebook page. Your basic facebook.com/the Raider Ramble. If you guys are active on Facebook, you can go ahead and follow us there too on there, man.
So Mario, thank you so much for coming in, on a short notice. Really do appreciate you coming up. Anytime you want to come up to the show on Tuesdays, you're always welcome, man. Really do appreciate you stopping by.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we'll definitely got to do this again sometime.
Awesome. Let's just hit me up, and then we can set it up and we can go from there, man.
Sounds good, man.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right, man.
That's a pretty cool guy there.
Yes, he's definitely a pretty cool guy, and he used to write for Raiders Wire and Just Blog Baby, and now he has his own site with Raider Ramble, and it's really some good sites. I'm not gonna lie, most of my content comes from those websites. So to have him up here and have his insight on things is really, really dope. It's really, really dope, man. But Ben, what's good, man? It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Have you on this channel, man? I know work's been hectic. Me and this transitional moving and all this stuff going on with me. With COVID, I had COVID back in August, and now I think we finally got it. We finally got it, man. So we finally here to talk some Raiders football, man. So
yeah, no doubt.
You hit it on the money, man, with the linebackers, man. You hit it on the money.
Yeah, I just a couple other things, I kind of want to talk about, like with the defense. I think there's still big question marks in terms of what we're going to do with Jonathan Abram as well. You know what I mean? I don't know what's the plan with him. I think Jonathan Abram's more suited to play that hybrid safety role in our defense. I don't like Jonathan Abram in a deep coverage. I don't. I've seen enough of him. I mean, he almost that. What was it? The Dolphins game we played last year? We almost lost that game when Trayvon Merrick went out for one play and Abram came in and almost gave up that deep bomb. So I think that's very interesting too, because I do expect Abram to play kind of that hybrid linebacker role on nickel, which kind of gives us another linebacker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really think that Abram is more of a run stopping in the box linebacker than. I don't want to put him in coverage at all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is a whole new regime. Depending on what Patrick Graham is going to do with him. That's another question too. Because Patrick Graham plays almost every defensive set. He plays almost every defensive set. It never fails. If you look at the Giants last year, they was highly ranked in some defensive stats, depending on what he played. If they played like a 3-4, they was ranked like 15th in defense. But if he played like a 4-3, he was like 10th in defense, or he played something different, it'll get lower. So it's like really depends. I really like the fact that he's diverse with the defense, and he has certain players that he could put in, like with Nate Hobbs. What you going to do with Nate Hobbs now, since you do all these type of coverages and these type of schemes? I still think you keep Nate Hobbs at the slot. You have Rock Ya-Sin, and even though Trayvon Mullen, that's the only thing that's killing me, if he can stay healthy. I know he's a bit handsy, and I know that he could give us a lot of pass interference, and it gives us a goddamn headache. I know you be getting a headache with him, because I know if you see any of my live play-by-play and reactions, I go off on Trayvon Mullen every goddamn time when he's handsy. I curse his ass out every time. But what are we going to do with Trayvon Mullen? I know he just got surgery. What we doing with him, man?
I like Trayvon. I do. I honestly don't think Trayvon really ever had a number one next to him until last year with Casey. Mm-hmm. And I thought I seen a different version of Trayvon. Trayvon was a little bit more stickier in coverage. I think it's because he probably wasn't guarding the traditional number ones. He was kind of guarding number twos. But one thing I'll tell you about Trayvon is he's not afraid to go up against any wide receiver in this league.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you can respect that. You know, because there's some cornerbacks in this league you feel like as soon as they're lined up against a certain receiver, they're outmatched. They're not gonna be able to match up. I know Trayvon can match up with the majority of the receivers in this league, and I've seen him do it. Trayvon, when healthy and they're in the right scheme, when the Raiders are playing, that traditional, man-to-man bump and run coverage, Trayvon Mullen's a pretty good damn player. But like you said, it's the handsiness. It's the handsiness. He's gotta get the handsiness down once he's past 5 yards. And inside 5 yards, you can get as handsy as the fuck you want. It's the hands fighting downfield. At the same time, though, I hate throwing shade on a lot of our DBs for pass interference because the league hates us, bro.
Yeah,
I see so many bullshit pass interference calls, bro. When it's hand fighting between both parties, and they'll call it on the Raiders. You know what I mean? I've seen Trayvon get some super questionable ones. You know what I mean? Trayvon's a young player. The only way to really learn how to play, corner in this league is to get burnt. All the best ones were burnt at some point and burnt bad, and were burnt probably for a couple of seasons. I seen when Charles Woodson very first got us, he was making plays. He wasn't. We can't compare him to Charles Woodson to Trayvon because he's a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? But Trayvon makes his plays
too as a player.
Yeah, he makes plays at the same time. I just think Trayvon, he's just got to stay healthy. I feel like every play he gets hurt. I feel like every play he's taking his helmet off, walking back to the huddle with his hands on his hips. It's always something. It's kind of like Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs the same fucking way, man. Same. Always feel like he's getting hurt every play. But I do like Trayvon. And I think teaming him up with Anthony Averett, I think Anthony Averett is a really good player. I think he was very slept on in Baltimore. He was like the fourth corner on that team. When he finally got a chance to come up and play last year, he played well. And don't sleep on the fact that we got Rob Ryan. I think Rob Ryan was on that staff last year. So he's familiar with Anthony Averett. If the Raiders can go back to playing traditional man-to-man bump and run coverage, the Raiders have four really good corners that can run with a lot of the receivers in this league. Trayvon can run with these guys, can play them in man. Rock Ya-Sin and Anthony Averett were both top 10 man-to-man corners last year. Trayvon Mullen's been a top five man-to-man bump and run corner. Nate Hobbs was the damn near the best slot cornerback in the NFL last year.
Absolutely.
So I think
coming on the blitz too.
Yeah, I think Trayvon and either Anthony Averett and Rock Ya-Sin with Nate Hobbs and Anthony Averett or Rock Ya-Sin, I think that's a great four corners. I think the Raiders have four corners that can give the defensive line some time.
And Patrick Graham, I hope you learned something from Gus Bradley last season. Don't be having us 6 to 7 yards back on a 3rd and 3 when it comes to corners. Just don't do it, because that's going to. When Spotlight gets on another side of things, and when I know things are very simple in logic, but they don't do that in professional football, it's very simple.
Yeah.
On a 3rd and 3, you do not have your corner 7 yards back in a cover 3. You just don't do it. Because now, if they run the ball, where's your corners at? 7 yards back. They can't tackle.
Yeah.
It's just simple. It's just simplified football, Patrick Graham. I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying. I just hope you learn something. If you saw the Chargers game in the last game of the season, you'll see why we went into overtime in that game. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, if any smart quarterback, if they're in a 3rd down and 7 yards and they see you, or a 3rd down and 4 yards, and you're playing 7-10 yards off the line of scrimmage, they're just gonna quit audible to a quick hitch, and it's a 1st down every single play. I mean, if you're not gonna press, cool, but don't play them so far off. You know, there's something called shadow coverage. You can come down and shadow these receivers. You don't gotta play 10 yards off the line of scrimmage on a 3rd down and short. You're setting your defensive backs up to fail. I wonder what's going through an NFL cornerback when it's 3rd down and 3 and he's playing 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. I wonder what that cornerback is thinking. Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, and you can't really go back and tell your coach shit. So it's
yeah, you really can't say nothing to him because he feels though that his scheme works. And I mean, sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't with Gus Bradley. I mean, I think the defense improved from what we had Paul Gunther a couple of years back, but I mean, Gus Bradley, I just know he stays in cover 3. He doesn't go out of cover 3 at all. And that was the biggest thing. That was my issue with him. I was not a big fan of getting Gus Bradley last season. I was not a big fan of it. I wanted a Raheem Morris type of defensive coordinator because I know he's more aggressive on his defense than he was, than what Gus Bradley is. And Gus Bradley doesn't blitz a lot. And I think it's been times where we could have blitzed and we didn't. And that's what Raheem Morris did. So people really got on me when I went live about Gus Bradley being a defensive coordinator. I did not like it at all, and people did not like the fact that I didn't like it. Oh well. Oh well. So that's just basically what it is with that. So
one thing that irked me about that whole Gus Bradley shit, to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, why were we running cover 3, but every time we play the damn Chiefs we run cover 2? And they killed us both games, dude. They were saying, why are the Raiders in a cover 2? Because the story going into that first Kansas City meeting was every team is running cover 2 on Kansas City and they're having success. Fucking Gus Bradley went from playing from playing cover 3 every game going into that to switching it up to a cover 2, and we got killed. I'm sitting there like, why are we playing split safeties? They got Jonathan Abram in coverage. I'm like, what is going on right now? Or
and
they
we know Jonathan Abram is the weakest cover corner that
or they was putting Dallin Levitt. They was putting Dallin Levitt in the cover 2. I'm like, dude, what the hell are we doing? Yeah, we got killed. I honestly felt like we had a better chance in cover 3 against the Chiefs than in cover 2. Because all they're going to do is run. They're going to run 4 verticals on us with all that speed.
Yeah.
2 defenders deep can't guard four vertical routes. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what they did to us. They ran a 4 vertical on us against a cover 2 and was just throwing on us the entire game. And it's like, I mean, cover 3 is not the best neither, because but at least you got 3 guys back instead of 2, and you got 2 guys that are trying to play the entire length of the field. It's just Gus Bradley. There was times where his damn scheme was just trash at times, bro.
It was
really
mad trash, and it been times I've been like, just wanted to throw my goddamn hat like I had a clipboard in my hand. It was crazy.
I've gone crazy on some of my streams, bro. I broke shit before. Oh yeah, there's 3 things in this life that I truly love in this life, and that's my family's number 1. However, I make my money's number 2, and this team is number 3.
Absolutely,
I love this. I love this team. So this shit, I get really emotional, especially about this football team at times.
You break shit, and then when you come down on that high horse, you be like, damn, why the fuck did I break?
I broke countless TV remotes, bro. At least 4 TV remotes, bro. Sitting there watching the TV and something happened to just chunk it. So yeah, it's happened quite a few times.
Oh man, I can say I broke a few things when no 4th down completions by the Chargers.
Multiple of them.
That was pissing me. I would love to find clips of that and play them on the show one day and just show y'all my reaction to the 4th down completions. No matter if it was in overtime or in the 4th quarter, I was literally yelling at the screen, ready to throw my remote at the TV. I was not playing. It was really bad.
It was sickening, bro, because they got so many of them. Just so many of them, dude. And they weren't, a lot of them weren't easy fourth downs. They were fourth down and longs.
Yeah, it really gave
Like Madden almost. Like you get people on Madden.
the 4th and 15 in Philadelphia. That's what it was. It was like the 4th and 15 in like the Eagles game. So people in the chat are talking about Amik Robinson too. So even though that we still have Amik, do you think he's the outside looking in going into this season as far as like depth of the corner position?
Yeah, I think undoubtedly. I think I have seen some good out of him, but I've seen a lot of bad out of him. He's just a young player, man, and I just think right now he's buried on the depth chart. And his size is always going to make him an issue.
Right.
You know, what is he, like 5'9" or something? He's a little
about
guy.
5'9", 5'10" ish.
Yeah, he's a little dude. So that's always going to be an issue. I do love his heart though. You know, he plays like a Rottweiler. But I just think he's his kind of, unless he's going to be a slot corner, because typically slot receivers are a little bit smaller than these outside receivers. I just don't see him ever really getting a chance with us, if I'm just being honest. I just think he's too small. And I don't think we have a slot role open for him. I think you know, Nate Hobbs obviously has the third position pretty much locked down. And then our dime corner is probably going to be either Rocky Sin or Anthony Everett, who's ever not playing number 2.
Right.
So, I mean, he's like the fifth corner, and barring any kind of injury or something, I mean, I just don't see him coming on. And, you know, he's little, you know, I love him, but he's a little dude, and he's going to have to really go out there and compete if he really wants to get on the field, especially nowadays. This is a passing league.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have 5'9", 5'10" DBs going up against, you know, 6'2", 6'3" receivers every single play and expecting to come out on top most of those plays.
Absolutely. So we do have a question here. It says, do you see the Raiders trading for Jesse Bates? I don't see us trading in the offseason at all. I think we did the trade with Yannick and we did the trade with Devontae. I don't see anything else happening as far as trade wise. I'm really waiting until after June 1st when we make our first initial. I think we do June 1st cuts, and we get that $20 million back on June 2nd. And I'll see what we do from there as far as free agency more than trade. So trading for Jesse Bates, I don't see it. I don't see it happening. What you think? Bro? You think we trade for Jesse Bates?
Well, I read a report by Vinny Bonsignor on Twitter, and I'm not the biggest fan of Vinny Bonsignor whatsoever. I mean, I feel like he's really a Homer Rams fan. He comes from their reporters or whatever, and he come to Vegas or whatever. But that's a story for another time. But I was reading something on about him, and I guess he pretty much said that, you know, the Raiders kind of feel good where they're at right now roster wise. So I mean, I think the big splash moves are probably in the past. So I don't see any trades. Usually you don't really see trades between you know, after the draft and going into the regular season. You see them every now and then, but they're highly rare. And I don't really know, to be honest, what their plan is at free safety. It's going to really come down to scheme. You know, are we gonna play with one safety deep, which is what I feel like Trayvon Merrick is great at, single safety coverages, but those are traditionally cover 3 coverages, you know, or are we going to play a 2 high safety? Because if we're going to play a 2 high safety, Jonathan Abrams is a liability.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a plan there. I'm pretty sure we brought in, what's his name? Deron Harmon or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe he can play the other safety. But that, it really concerns me, because if we run a cover 2 type defense, that's going to mean Jonathan Abrams is going to be probably in coverage. And I'm not the biggest fan of that, unless it's a cover 2 man. But I still don't like him in that neither, to be honest. Yeah. I think the Jonathan Abrams is best when he's playing forward, when he's going forward instead of running backwards. I like him when he's attacking the football. I don't like him when he's in coverage.
Yeah, so. I just think he was never a coverage guy, even in college. When he came out of college, he was more of that tackling corner that comes off and it gets in the backfield or blitzing. He was never like that coverage corner, because if you look at any of his highlights, you barely see Jonathan Abram in coverage. So he's definitely going to be a liability. And with before Mario got up and before you got on, he did have 10 free agents that the Raiders still can get probably after June 2nd, and Landon Collins was one of them. And Landon Collins is one of those safeties that could come in and be a veteran. Because I don't think we will have no. I mean, Deron Harmon is a veteran too, but if you want the opposite of what Trayvon Merrick could do, I mean, Landon Collins, he knows the scheme.
Yeah, that's a great
You
point.
want to bring in somebody that knows the scheme really well. So I mean, if we get him on a veteran minimum, not break the bank, I think Landon Collins would be a good safety to come in and put Abram in the box.
Yeah, I actually really like that. I didn't really think of it that way, but to be completely honest, now that we're here, I don't think we've gone over this in my show yet in terms of the defensive backs and the safeties. But yeah, I think Landon Collins would be a pretty damn good pickup. I do. I think, like you said, he's the opposite of Trayvon Merrick. I think you let what's his name? I just forgot. Lost my train of
Jonathan
thought.
Abram.
The other safety. We're just talking about
Trayvon Merrick.
Landon Collins. Landon
Collins, right?
I think bringing in Landon Collins and letting him, attack the football and let Trayvon Merrick play over the top is good. And that's if Jonathan Abram's in that linebacker role. But if they're gonna play a safety over the top, you might as well just keep Jonathan Abram. If you don't plan on running him as a linebacker, you might as well just keep him and let him learn how to play safety, in my opinion. Because if they're gonna run, a deep safety, I don't see a need for another safety, because I think they should just run Abram. But if they're gonna put Abram in the box as strictly playing in the box, I think they need to bring in another safety. So
yeah, because I could definitely see Landon Collins being.
By the way, there's a troll inside of your chat.
Spamming
your chat.
Well, I do have my my moderators in here. So
okay.
If you are a moderator in here, you know what to do. I don't have to say anything.
Right.
But if you don't do it, if y'all moderators don't do it, then I'll do it myself. But until then, I let my moderators do their job if they are in here. So running back room. Me and Mario talked about this. It's very interesting this year with the running back. You'll know that we drafted Zamir White, another running back by committee running back from Georgia. Josh Jacobs, no 5th-year option. Kenyon Drake, we don't know what we're going to do after this year. We signed Amir Abdullah. We got Brandon Bolden. We got rid of fullback / he played defense before he became a fullback, Sutton Smith. We did release him because we did have that other fullback come in from New England. I forgot his name. Jacob something. He was a fullback that was with the New England Patriots that we signed as well.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Can't
think of his name either.
As far as the running back position goes, what is your prediction of who would do you think the Raiders would keep 4 or 5 running backs on this roster?
We got a lot of running backs on this team, man. A lot. And yeah, I could see 4 or 5 running backs being held. I think this is a team that's running back by committee. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man, because I think there's a lot of talent back there in that running back room too. I think Josh Jacobs is going to really feast in this offense. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how he plays, because I think he's a very underrated catcher of the football as well. Kenyon Drake, I think is another guy this might be the perfect offense for a player like Kenyon Drake. Screen plays, a lot of outside zone in terms of when they do want to go outside. They do a lot of stretches and shit and pitches. I think that's good for Drake. And the other guys we brought in, like you said, Brandon Bolden. I'm not the biggest fan of all the rest of the running backs. I do like the rookie we got, Zeus. I think he's going to be a hammer. He's going to truly be a hammer. I think Amir Abdullah is another player that I like. I think he's kind of like a a Kenyon Drake type player, that scat back, that elusive guy. But
Or
a lot of
special teams.
competition. Yeah, a lot of competition there in that running back room. And I think they did it for, legitimate reasons. Let's push Josh Jacobs. Let's see what he can do.
Really
Josh Jacobs
healthy.
goes out and has a really good year. If Josh Jacobs stay healthy and have a really good year, he's going to line himself up to probably get a little bit of money from us. I don't know how much we're going to give him, but if he goes out and he plays well and he can show a little bit of something like off his rookie season, play all 16 games, go out there and have 1,000+ yards, 12 touchdowns, 13, 14 touchdowns, Josh Jacobs may be able to do something with this team. But right now, I just think they're going to go out there and they're going to try to see if he can stay healthy. And they're going to put a bunch of guys behind him that are going to push him. And if he can't stay healthy, man, we got plenty of other guys, man, that can get the job done. But this is going to be primarily a pass offense, in my opinion. They're going to let Derek Carr do his thing, the same way they let Tom Brady do his thing. That was a quarterback-driven offense. Yep. Let your quarterback, read the defense at the line of scrimmage and build your offense around that. So I think these running backs are going to be able to catch the football and block. So I think that's another reason why we brought in so many, is we got to get the best run blockers, third down backs, because we don't got Jalen Richard anymore.
Right.
Which I was never the biggest fan of Jalen, but we don't have him.
And that's why I feel like that's why they brought Brandon Bolden in, because he's that third down specialist that he was in New England last year. So even if Drake needs a break or Jacobs needs a break, and like that 3rd and 2 or that 3rd and 3, and you need somebody to catch out of backfield like an angle route or an option route, Brandon Bolden could do that. He had almost 700 yards.
Oh wow!
Receiving last year with the Patriots. As far as like running backs by committee, because they had James White too over there, but James White wasn't healthy. And then they had that rookie running back that came out of Oklahoma, so it was him, Brandon Bolden, and his name's Jacoby Johnson. That's his name. Fullback from New England. So it's going to be really interesting, and I think they really brought those two in because they come from the system. They come from the Josh McDaniels system. It helps to get the rest of the running backs up to speed. But I think Zeus is going to. I just have this feeling that Zeus is going to have a breakout year his first year. Yeah. Even though that it's going to be running back by committee, he's used to that. He's not used to starting.
Yeah.
Georgia comes like I said earlier, and they know in the chat earlier, Georgia. If you look at the Georgia running backs that came out of the NFL, they always running back by committee with the Nick Chubb, the Sony Michel's of the world, the Todd Gurley's of the world at the time when he was there. So they was all running back by committee. So I think Zeus is going to come in and fit really well with this offense, really well. But it always is this offensive line we got to talk about.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's all really going to come down to this offensive line, is how well can they block. Because I've seen Josh. We've all seen Josh Jacobs, production decline over the last couple of years. But I've also seen very bad offensive line play. Last year, I literally saw Leatherwood and Andre James playing patty cake with each other in the backfield, while Josh Jacobs was getting blown up for a loss on the other side of the play. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? There was a lot of bad. Really, last year, the first 8 to 10 games of the season was bad, really bad. I thought. I won't say the entire offensive line, primarily that interior right side of that offensive line was bad, really bad. Yeah. I thought it got better towards the last 6, 7, 8 games of the season. Thought Alex Leatherwood continues to struggle with penalties, but I think Alex Leatherwood's a good player. I just think he's got to get out of his own head. But yeah, if that offensive line don't open up no holes, they don't matter who the hell we put back there. We can get Emmitt Smith. If we can't open up a hole, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Listen, I was not a big fan of Alex Leatherwood coming out of college. I thought he was a bit overrated coming out of Alabama. But if you keep him at the right guard, and he played so well at the end of the year at right guard, instead of putting him at right tackle, he was getting his ass blown up, something severely. And I was like, you got to make a change. And they made the change to put him at right guard. And you see he's better inside than he is outside. So really it's the right tackle position that's our issue for real, because now we have to see what we getting out of Denzel Good. They said that he's 100% to come back. Then we got to see what we get out of Illuminor. I know what we're getting out of Brandon Parker. Brandon Parker's trash. We should never brought him back. I'm sorry to say. He's hot garbage. I can't stand Brandon Parker. He should not be on nobody's football team at this moment. I don't know why we brought him back, but that's another story for another time with Brandon Parker. So it's going to really be very interesting to watch with this offensive line. Then, Dylan Parham, our 90th overall pick, we did trade back to get him. So it's good. And then we got, I don't know if we got any offensive lineman in undrafted free agency. I don't think we did. Don't get me wrong about that.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but I'm really, really nervous about this offensive line, man. They need to keep Derek Carr upright to get to these receivers, because we talked about the receiver core as well, what our receiver core is going to look like. But I don't know what to say about this offensive line at this point. Dylan Parham could play center, he could play guard on both sides, and he could play a little bit of right tackle. But I still think we need to go out and get Darrell Williams. That's the one guy.
So on a scale from 1 to 10, what's your concern level in terms of 1, being not concerned at all, to 10 being like really concerned?
I'm like a 7.
Okay. I'm more like maybe a 3.
I'm like a 7 because I don't see with this offensive line coach. I really don't know him much. I know he comes from a Patriots background too, but we don't really know much about this coaching staff. So if he could put this unit together and they could keep Carr from getting hurt or whatever, I'm fine with that. But it's just a lot of question marks as of today, as of May 24th, 2022. It's a lot of question marks. So now when it gets around training camp, we can actually know what we have going into the season. But right now it's a 7. It might get lower once the season starts to, gets closer. But right now, that's my concern, because remember, Dylan Parham is a rookie. And he's going to have to come in and play. So it's a 7 for me.
Okay. So I look at it like this. My offensive line concerns obviously aren't as intense as some. Fact, I'm really not too concerned about this offensive line. I'm concerned about the offensive line maybe opening holes in the running game. Not truly too concerned about the pass blocking with the offensive line, and I'll tell you why. We are going to be a quick strike offense. We are not going to have consecutive plays where we're going to be holding the ball more than 3 seconds. I think you're going to see a lot of crossing routes, a lot of underneath routes, a lot of rub routes, a lot of screen passes, a lot of check down option routes to running back, things of that nature. So I think the offensive line we have right now is I think is good enough to hold up majority of the time in those kind of predicaments. The one thing that just worries me is our ability to be able to block in the running game. I do think Brandon Parker is going to be our right tackle, but I do think it may be possible that Illuminor might get that job. But I honestly don't think we can get worse than we played last year. We did get better down the stretch. I saw Andre James started to play way better than he did earlier in the year. I saw Alex Leatherwood start to play better. You've seen the running game open up for Josh later in the year. I was opening up for Kenyon too. Unfortunately, he broke his leg. Just Leatherwood, he's got to be able to get out of his own head. I don't think physically there's anything really wrong with Alex Leatherwood. I think he has the frame and everything to be a pretty good player in this league. He's got to get his mental right. If he can do that, I think he's gonna play well at guard. But will they put him back at tackle? I think putting him at tackle is a bad move. I think it stunts his development because it's going to be hard for a player to try to learn 2 positions. So I think just leave him at guard, man, and go out there with Brandon Parker, Illuminor, whoever wins. If they can hold up during those few shot plays, I don't think the Raiders are going to take a ton of shot plays a game, maybe 4 shot plays. I just think it's going to be a lot of quick strike, dink and dunk type offense, man. And it's going to be like a death by 1,000 paper cuts type offense, but we're going to take our shots when they present themselves. But I don't think we're going to have to block very long, man. I don't really have too much of a concern level. The only reason why I give it a 3 and not a 2 or a 1 is because of the running game. But we got to be able to open up holes in the running game.
And that's my only issue too. If we could get a running game established on a consistent basis, I don't think we would have to dink and dunk down the field.
Yeah, exactly.
So
be able to take more shots, play action. And play action, it's going to give your offensive line more time because now you got these guys guessing, trying to figure out is it run or pass. Right. It's going to help your offensive line as well.
And that's what I just want our offense to be. I want our offense to be a point where it's not predictable. And in the last few years with John Gruden, and last year it was so predictable. I knew what the next play was. As me being a former player myself, playing football, and I know mostly a lot of content creators or people that know football know that the play is very the Raiders playbook was very predictable the last couple of years. We knew first and second down they was going to run the ball, third day was going to dink and dunk, basically. And it is going, or probably just a 3 and out, real quick 3 and out.
Yeah.
So I just really hope Josh McDaniels makes it a little bit more diverse. Even though that he, run hitches and runs wide receiver screens, have people in front. I just really hope the discipline comes down to blocking. Even as a receiver, you have to block. That's another thing too. So I just really hope like all three phases of the game that they can have that discipline, and especially on the offensive side, protect Carr, keep them upright. Get the ball to the Renfro and the Wallers and the Devontae Adams, and then that next receiver. That's the question. Who's going to be after Waller, Devontae Adams, and Renfro? And people are saying, Johnson, Tyron Johnson, or Keelan Cole. And I think that's the battle at the wide receiver position at training camp.
Yeah, and I feel like regardless, because that's another hot topic too around Raider Nation is who's number 2 receiver.
Right.
There is no number 2 receiver on this team because the number 2 receiver on this team is Darren Waller. Darren Waller is always going to be the number 2 target. He was the number 1 target before Adams got here.
Right.
Hunter Renfro is clearly the number 3 target. So regardless, whoever the number 2 is, he's gonna probably be the 4th option on this offense. You know what I mean? Because it's gonna Derek Carr is gonna be Adams, Waller, Renfro. Okay, boom. And he might even be the 5th because we know Derek Carr loves to check it down to his running backs. So he might be the second receiver, might be the 5th option.
Yeah.
In some place. I think we have some guys that can play that role. I like that Keelan Cole dude. I think he's a pretty good player. That other receiver, Mac Hollins, he's more of a special teams guy, but they can get him on some screens and stuff like that. But I just think regardless of whoever it may be, I think the Raiders are good right now where they're at with their receiving. It's just right now it's injuries.
Right.
What's going to happen if somebody gets injured? Because if we lose Adams or we lose Renfro, if we don't have a number 2 receiver, like a bona fide number 2, now we're dropping to a number 4 receiver, or a number 3 receiver because we never got a number 2 because we were so satisfied with our receiving options and with our tight end. So I think that's the issue is the depth.
Yeah, it's going to be the depth. And like with Brian Edwards being traded to the Atlanta Falcons, even though Brian Edwards, didn't pan out like he was supposed to, but sometimes you need that security blanket just in case. But I understand NFL's a business, so you gotta do what's best. And I remember right now, Atlanta need a receiver. Calvin Ridley, we don't know when he's coming back. They don't have no longer a Julio Jones. They do got Kyle Pitts at tight end. So and then you take a Marcus Mariota over there and give him a big body receiver with Kyle Pitts and Brian Edwards. It just works out for the best. So, speaking of quarterbacks, which we haven't talked about this whole segment, the backup quarterback, we all know Carr's going to be number 1. We already know this. So, our backup quarterback. So, we did get rid of the former Washington Commanders quarterback. I forgot his name. I think it was Gilbert or something like that. And then we brought in Stidham.
Yeah.
We traded for Stidham. Which he knows Josh McDaniels offense. So God forbid, I don't even want to put this on here, but like, I just don't, man. I don't.
Yeah, no
I just want Carr to be healthy, and people need to start giving Carr his respect. I know sometimes he plays like shit, but hey, he tries. He tries when he can. But do you think Stidham might be that number 2 QB now since we traded for him?
I think Nick Mullins is going to be our backup quarterback. Dude, I think Nick Mullins is a pretty good. I don't think he's a good great type quarterback. I think he's better than Stidham. I think Nick Mullins is all right, but that's gonna be a good battle right there. Nick Mullins and Stidham. but same thing you said, I don't want to be in here putting no bad juju. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think Derek Carr is gonna be okay. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Derek Carr has been, one of the Iron Men around the league. He's suffered a lot of injuries, and he's only missed, I think, 2 or 3 games his entire 8-9 year career. I think it's year 8 going into year 9.
Going
So
into year 9, yep.
Yeah, so he's a very, healthy quarterback. And I think he does get beat up a lot. I think there's a Derek Carr treatment in the NFL. I think Derek Carr doesn't get a lot of the calls that a lot of these other quarterbacks do, and I don't know what it is. It's probably just because we're the Raiders and they just let our quarterbacks get beat up. But barring that, but I think Nick Mullins and Jarrett Stidham, I think the both of them are capable of winning a couple of games for us if Carr was to go down and the defense need to step up. I didn't want to let go of Mariota. I wish they were able to find some way to make that work. Obviously, Atlanta wanted to give him more money to be a starter. I hate that. I wish Atlanta never wanted Mariota because I think he was like the perfect backup for Derek Carr. But it is what it is. But it's going to be very interesting. Don't want to put no bad juju on Derek Carr, but I do think we got some quarterbacks that are behind Derek Carr that can come in for a couple of games. And because really when your quarterback goes down, if your defense has to step up, your running game has to step up.
Yeah. And
I think we got a defense and a running game that's more than capable of stepping up this year, barring the offensive line being able to open up a hole. So.
And I was kind of nervous about when we did get rid of Marcus Mariota. I was a big fan of getting rid of him because I thought we overpaid for him as a backup quarterback, in my opinion. But at the same time, if we would have brought him back for like a nice deal, nothing that we got him for when we had Mayock here, we spent a kind of little bit good money on a number 2 quarterback, because it brought controversy to it of who's going to start, Mariota or Carr. We all knew Carr was going to start, but just because of what Mariota was making, it was like, he should have been the starter. Good riddance, but hey, at the end of the day, Mariota is going to be a starter in Atlanta. They brought Edwards over there, so hopefully we wish them the best. And I really thought like Mariota was the better backups than what we have now. But like I said, it's a business at the end of the day. And I was like, I'm not really too big on Nick Mullins. I still got that stinger.
When he smacked us, yeah, I know.
When he smacked us in the mouth, I still got that taste in my mouth.
That's why I think he could be probably a pretty good backup because he lit our ass the fuck up, dude.
Oh my god. I actually went live for that game, and my brother's a Niners. My brother was a Niners fan, and he was like all in my face, and I just could not. I'm like, I had to do this the whole time. It was so bad, man. And mind you, we get the 49ers this year on our schedule, and Nick Mullins is on our team. So now, the table's going to turn, man. I'm really looking forward to that game. But speaking of our schedule, what are your top 3 games that you're looking forward to outside of the division? Because all the division games is going to be competitive. We already know this. AFC West. Let's put it out there right now. AFC West is the best division in football.
Yeah.
Hands down. So, outside of our division, what 3 games are you looking forward to?
I think that Rams game is going to be a big one on prime time in LA. It's going to be interesting to see how Raider Nation comes out for that game. I think the Raiders can go with the Rams. I think I seen a stat, something like Devontae Adams, like Pro Football Focus grade when going up against Jalen Ramsey is like damn near 90. So Jalen Ramsey can't guard Devontae Adams. So we got that right there. Just more of Derek Carr putting the ball in the right place. So the Rams is the game I'm really looking forward to. The most intriguing game out of my most anticipated game is probably going to be the Patriots game, and it's for obvious reasons. Primetime game, Josh McDaniels, Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
This game is circled on both of their calendars, probably circled a million times. Vroom, 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 vroom. When you're mad at something and you got to fuck, I don't want to. Yeah.
But that's a preseason game, though.
No, we played the Patriots in the regular season.
Because I'm looking at it now and it says we got 4 preseason games: Jaguars, Vikings, Dolphins, Patriots.
Yeah, we play the Patriots in the regular season and the preseason. We play them in Vegas, I think.
Let me look. Yeah, ain't that interesting?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we play the Patriots. And yeah, that's going to be a very, very interesting game for obvious reasons right there. So, yeah, it's crazy. We play them in the preseason and the regular season, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. We got a little bit of a weird preseason schedule this year because we play the NFC West. So I think we're playing the NFC North in the preseason. We got the Vikings and
Jaguars, Dolphins. So most likely 2 teams from the AFC East, 1 from the NFC North and the AFC South. So we only got 1 NFC team.
It's kind of weird because usually we play the Niners, the Seahawks, the Cardinals, something like that, for the most part.
Oh, the Jags is regular season too? I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, we play the Jags in the regular season too.
We had the whole AFC South again.
Basically. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we got 2 of the teams that we play in the preseason. We play in the regular season as well. So yeah, that Patriots game.
It'll be the 3rd year in a row that we play the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, play them again. Yeah, and that's been that team that's been kind of like the Ravens. When we don't play their division, they kind of put us on their team. Because remember, was it like with the Ravens? We played like 3 out of 4 years or something like that against the Ravens. Yeah. Same thing now with the Colts. You know what I mean? We had the same thing with the Titans. There was a period of time where we were beating the hell out of the Titans for like 3 years when Derek Carr and Michael Crabtree and all those guys, we were beating them before they went and got Tannehill. Then they got Tannehill. They got a little bit better. But so that Patriots game for obvious reasons. And I think the most anticipated game for me has got to be that 49er game on New Year's Day. Yeah. I do plan on being at that game. Right now, the ticket prices are absolutely insane.
Yeah.
The goal is to be in Vegas on New Year's Eve. The goal is to get tickets into this game. But this is the thing. I'm a 5-year season ticket holder in Oakland. I know how the Raider fans and the 49er fan rivalry is. I've witnessed it firsthand my entire life. There's going to be a lot of people that go to Vegas this weekend that's not going to make that game, that are going to be in jail. I'd be willing to bet my bottom dollar on it. It's not gonna be no fights.
Vendettas with this, man.
There's not gonna be no fights in the game. I think I've been to Allegiant. The stadium is very strict. They have a lot of security, a lot of cops. But that night, New Year's Eve, you're putting Raider fans and 49er fans in the same city, the entertainment capital of the world, on New Year's Eve. There's gonna be a lot of bars fights. There's gonna be a lot of casino fights. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to pay $700 right now to go to this game that's not going to make it. And if the tickets don't drop and I don't have my tickets by then, I guarantee you the night of the game, the evening before the game, I'm going to get tickets dirt cheap because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be in jail. They have no choice but to sell their tickets. Right. In my opinion. Because like I said, I've witnessed this rivalry firsthand. And I'd be willing to tell you right now, my best friend's a 49er fan, and him and everybody he knows are going to this game. There's not a Niner fan that don't want to embarrass us after saying that they ran us out of the state of California. There's nothing that they want to do more than go to Vegas in our first game and smack us. There's nothing they want to do more. And they are going to be there. There's going to be a lot of 49er fans there. and there's going to be a lot of people in Clark County the night before the game. So by far that 49er game is going to be very interesting. And me and my wife plan on being there. And we've only been to Vegas one time, and that's when we seen the Raiders last year. So this will be our second time in Vegas. It's going to be New Year's Eve, and I don't plan on going out there and getting any fights or nothing. But I know there's going to be a lot of fans out there.
It's a lot of trash talking that turns into fights. That's what it's going to be.
Bro. There's going to be a lot of drunk. It's going to be a lot of alcohol related fights.
You put that game in Las Vegas on New Year's Eve before the new year. And people already plan on getting drunk because it's New Year's Eve. NFL, you did something bad right there, man.
They might mess around and not let them play again after this year. If it's bad, yeah, because these are two fan bases that really don't like each other. I know. Right. I truly, passionately hate the 49ers. And a lot of Raider fans will have looked at me kind of sideways for saying this, but I'll say it on your show. When the Chiefs played the 49ers in the Super Bowl, I was rooting for the Chiefs. Cannot watch the 49ers win a Super Bowl during my lifetime. I live in a 49er Raider fan dominated area. There's no way in hell I can see the 49ers win a Super Bowl before I do. because
Fact.
I'm never going to be able to live that down. They got to lose every single game, and it's great because every time they've made it, they've lost. So
Because they was close. Even though they was close to making it to Super Bowl this year, they was close, and I was so
yeah.
happy that the Rams beat them. I was so happy that the Rams beat them in the NFC Championship, even though like Debo Samuel one side of San Fran and all of that. I didn't care. Stafford, get your trophy. Over Garoppolo and these 49ers. I take that. I will take the Rams winning the championship before the Chargers and the 49ers. Sorry. That's just me.
And I think I really truly honestly don't think they're ever going to win anything with Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan has proved in the biggest comeback in NFL history that he blows leads.
Yep.
He had another lead against the Chiefs, blew that as well. I just don't think he's a big time coach. I think he can get you some wins in the regular season and win you some playoff games. But when it comes to a legitimate defense, legitimate scheme, I just think he chokes.
He's more like a mid-tier type of coach. He's not like a top, like if you put him in if you got a top 10 coaches, he's probably that number 10 coach, basically outside looking in type of coach.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do when we're playing them with their quarterback position too. I know a lot of news around the Niners is they want Trey Lance to start. There's a lot of hype around him getting some time. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Who plays. But I just honestly think that offensively we're a lot more talented than the 49ers, regardless if they got Debo or not. And they're going to have to just, pray that they can sack Derek Carr a bunch of times because I don't think they have anybody that's going to be able to guard Devontae on that defense. My buddy's a 49er fan. He's like, well, Devontae Adams didn't do nothing against us when he was in Green Bay. If you go and look at the stats, Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers cannot beat for the 49ers. It don't matter who his wide receivers are.
Right.
He can't hit for whatever reason. He cannot hit receivers against the Niners. He chokes against them every single time. And that's like his kryptonite. So, yeah, dude, they don't got their secondary is boo-boo. They went and got Brashad Breeland. We've been seeing the back of his jersey a lot since he's been in the Chiefs. And I think we'll continue to see that when he switches to that putrid black or gold and red, that putrid color.
But my 3 games that I'm looking forward to, one, of course, the 49ers is definitely one of them. I think it's this really intriguing matchup between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Arizona Cardinals. That's going to be a very intriguing matchup. Carr versus Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray ended up getting Hollywood Brown in the draft. Hollywood Brown played against us when he was a Baltimore Raven. It's a small story.
No DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep, no DeAndre Hopkins. And I don't think they brought back AJ Green, and AJ Green is probably washed up at this point. So it's gonna be. I think that's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah,
with that Arizona Cardinals game.
It's gonna be interesting to see if he's even their quarterback come in because he's acting like a real diva right now.
Right.
And I was always concerned. I'm like, dude, when they draft him, I'm like, dude, what if he goes and says, I want to play baseball now?
But you got to think about it too, though. You see all these quarterbacks getting $30 million, $40 million guaranteed, and he's coming in the season only making $5 million. I'll be pissed too.
Yeah.
If I'm coming into the season and my guarantee money is $5 million, and we see all these quarterbacks get $30 and $40 million guaranteed,
it's a great point.
Yeah, I'll be kind of pissed about that. I'll be sitting out for OTAs too. I might sit out, goddamn, because actually it's voluntary, so you don't have to go, but mandatory. Until you pay me, I'm not coming.
His play style dictates that he wants to get paid. I mean, he takes one hit and it could be detrimental to him. He's a little dude too. He's like 5'9", 5'10". He's a little dude. He takes a hit and that could be detrimental because his game is very volatile in terms of how he runs around with his feet.
Yeah.
If you take them legs away from Kyler, I mean, he's not the greatest guy in terms of reading defenses. I think losing DeAndre Hopkins is going to hurt him.
Short.
Yeah.
And you got like 6'9", 6'8", damn near 300-pound offensive lineman in front of you. You're not going to be able to see nothing.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to roll out and stuff like that. So he said, Matt says that Murray is one hit away from being RG3.
A lot of these running backs are. So is Lamar.
Yeah.
If somebody hits them low, it's just all about where they get hit when they get tackled. I think a lot. I think there's, and I'm glad I can say this because I don't like injuries. I like a lot of these guys how they're tackling these quarterbacks up high because they could go for their knees if they wanted to.
Right.
And a lot of these guys don't go for their knees; they go for their body, and I
But that
can really respect that.
and that's another thing too with the NFL. You can't go high, you can't go low. Then where can you go? Basically,
It's like waistline only or some shit. You can only hit them
yeah.
like in the waistline, around the belly area,
Even
almost.
if you tackle them, like you break your chest until they show the pad, if you like blindside them. If the helmet even taps another helmet, they're calling it.
Yeah,
I
soft,
think,
too
yeah,
soft.
I just think they need to really change the way it is. I mean, understand you if you hit them under the face mask, I can completely understand it because that's your neck right there.
Yeah,
Completely understand that. But if you're bear hugging them and you drive them into the ground, that's considered a roughing the passer. No, that's part of tackling. You're form tackling, and his shoulder is going into the grass or the turf.
yeah.
It's a physical game. You can't make the game soft. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, and
it's
I just hate it because it's so biased towards Derek too. Because like I said earlier, man, I see Derek Carr get beat up all the time and don't get no
Mhm.
calls. So
Facts. That is 100% facts, man. So I'm not even going to do my record prediction. Like I said, I ain't doing my record prediction until training camp because you just don't know. Because I mean, I don't know if you heard about the undrafted free agent, the running back from UTSA.
yeah,
Sean, I think his name was Sincere
Sincere
McCormick.
McCormick. Yeah.
He's on IR. He's done for the year.
Oh wow. Oh, that sucks. Okay, well that's interesting.
Because that would have been interesting if he would have made the roster. Because you know what, us Raiders, we always found a running back that's from undrafted free agency. Trey Reagans was that last year.
Yeah, Jalen Richard stay on our
Jalen
team
Richard was
forever.
that too. So it's pretty interesting to see now. He's going to be on IR. He's going to miss the rest of the season. But I'm still thinking like, okay, if he was able to play, he probably would have been a practice squad player till somebody, God forbid, somebody got hurt, then got moved up because that's what Trey Reagans was last year. Which I think we should never got rid of Trey Reagans. I was always a big fan of him, but
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see enough of Trey Regas. I know a lot of people liked him. I didn't see enough of him. I thought my issue with him is that I was just tired of watching Jalen Richard. And I'd hate to say I told you so, but a lot of Raider fans that have been watching my channel, I think they can kind of agree with me. The reason why I haven't liked Jalen Richard, it's when Jalen Richard's on the football field, teams know what we are going to do. It's kind of like as much as I loved Marshawn Lynch is on the field, teams know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And we were already fucking predictable as fuck. So now you're bringing Jalen Richard on the field. They know we're passing. They're putting their best pass rushers on the field. Their pass sets, they know we're passing. You know what I mean? When Marshawn Lynch was on the field, what'd they do? They stacked the box. They put all their best big, heavy dudes in there. And because we wouldn't throw the ball to Marshawn. We won't run the ball with Jalen.
Same thing with Peyton Barber. We did the same thing with him when it came to red zone. When we didn't have Jacobs in there, they put Peyton Barber in there. They knew that we were running the football.
Exactly. And I, like I said, I hate to say I told you so, but obviously there's a reason he's not on the team anymore. He's not even on a team. He's still a free agent. Don't nobody even want him. You know what I mean? And I think if there was any scheme that he was probably going to fit in best, it might have been this one with the Patriots. Yeah. You know, because he's a premier pass blocking running back on third down. In my opinion, that's all he can do.
Yeah,
I had no hate towards Jalen.
He's not a good in between the tackle type of running back.
I never seen him make a great run since his rookie season. His rookie year was the only time I ever even seen him really be good in the run. And that's why I got a lot of hate. But I think the only reason why he beat out DeAndre Washington is because he could pass block. I like DeAndre Washington more than Jalen Richard.
Man, I'm so mad we got rid of him. And he after he left us, he went to the Kansas City Chiefs and he didn't do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked DeAndre. I really did. I said I knew DeAndre could run the ball. He wasn't the great in the passing game. I understand that he wasn't great, but I thought he was really good catching and really good rushing. I remember that game where Derek Carr got hurt in 2016. That was the DeAndre Washington show against the Colts. He had like 100+ yards rushing, like another 50, 60 yards receiving, like 3 touchdowns. He was going stupid in that game. And that's another thing that sucked about that game. It's like they could have pulled Derek Carr a lot earlier in that game. I was at that game. That was my daughter's first ever Raider game. And but the knock that year was, the Raiders aren't blowing anybody out. And I felt like they thought, oh, this is our opportunity to blow this team out with Andrew Luck. We're going to slap them. We're going to make a statement going into the playoffs, and it bit us in the ass. But all in all, I've never been a fan of Jalen Richard. I felt like he was a one-trick pony. And it's going to be interesting to see what these running backs can do. Because I'm also a fan of Kenyon Drake. I just think he's overpaid. I think he's really overpaid.
Absolutely. Definitely that's a fact. That's a known fact. But, man, it's been real, y'all, because I got to get me something to eat, man. I've been sitting behind the computer for the last 2 hours. It's been fun having you on here talk Raiders football, bro.
No doubt.
Anytime you want to come up here on a Tuesday, you let me know.
Okay.
We could talk about all the Raiders news, man. And I'm definitely coming on Friday.
Okay.
I got my wrestling podcast at 8:30. So right after I get off that, I'm coming over to your channel. Just send me the link. I'm coming over there. So I know the trolls. You see, I got the troll out of here. He never.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
That.
Yeah, I mean, I don't be tripping, but I was letting you know because the dude was spamming your chat, bro. I don't care about a troll, but he was like spamming. I'm like, oh shit, bro. Your mods aren't that dude spamming the hell out of your chat.
Right. So my mods wasn't doing nothing, man. But
it's all love though. I don't be tripping. I love trolls. I love trolls, bro. I just don't like them when they spam chats. When they spam chats, it's a bad look. You know what I mean?
Right, it's no issue. It's no issue with trolls. I mean, if you go troll, you go come in here and you go and troll. But spamming, that's another thing.
Exactly.
That's why we had to get him out of here. But for everybody that has not subscribed to Raiders Ben's channel, the link is in the description, y'all. The link is definitely in the description. Make sure y'all subscribe. I know you just had a show earlier today. What was that called?
So I'm part of. Let me break down my community because I think I broke it down for a lot of the other shows I've been on, but this is my first time here. Yeah. So I'm part of a community that's called the Trash Talking Circle. We're all trash talking fans of every team in the league. Almost every team in the NFL has a representative in our community by somebody that's a trash talker. Obviously, I'm the Las Vegas Raiders representative. I'm Raider Ben. And I'm known in the community as Raider Ben. Well, I've been around this community for a long time. Well, our community in the off season, we're not the best guys in terms of pumping out a ton of football content in the off season. Our content in the off season is based around what's going inside of our community. You know what I mean? And my Talk That Shit Tuesdays, bro, it's kind of like Black Saturday. I've kind of told you what Black Saturday is. It's everything. Football, trash talk, drama, everything. That's kind of like what Tuesday is. Same thing. And right now we have issues around our community. We have all these trolls that are flagging our channels. Our community is very toxic, bro. And the videos, because we're trash talkers and we disrespect each other, it's easy for us to violate YouTube's community guidelines. So we have people that flag our channels whenever we go at each other because all in all, we're all boys. We do this for entertainment. We go at each other's necks for entertainment to bring.
It's not personal. It's just football trash talk. That's what it is.
Exactly. So we have trolls, a group of trolls right now that are invading our community that's kind of tearing us apart because we have there's a couple broads that have come around and there's some simps in our community that they act like they've never seen a girl in their life. So they're letting these people pull our community apart. And I was just kind of speaking on that. And there's a lot of weird people, man. They're trying to flag our channels. We had 2 or 3 people in the last year with monetized channels from our community that have lost their channel because people flag them. You know what I mean? So it's just really about the content you put on. That's why I don't put on content like that anymore. Because if you put on flaggable content, you break YouTube's community guidelines, you're asking for it. Dude, I've been here for 7 years. I have 1,600 videos on private. 1,600. Just maybe a fifth or a sixth of my videos are on public on my channel. And it's because a lot of my channels have flaggable content on them,
Mhm.
and I don't want to lose my channel. So that's why
I
I've
think you should
rebranded
switch
like
over
this,
to
bro.
Twitch for that though. You ever thought about think about going over to Twitch for that?
No, I haven't. I heard we do something called 3Speak. 3Speak is a cryptocurrency website. They give you cryptocurrency for posting content on their site. And they're going to be introducing live streams very soon. And regardless of what you go on there to do, if you go up there to comment, to troll, or just to like or dislike, you give it. They give the content creator money, and you get Bitcoin in return, and it stacks only a little bit, but it stacks. You know what I mean? Like, I've been doing it for 6 months. I got like $700 in my account, and it's just from just posting a video on there. It's nothing special. Well, they're going to be introducing live streams really soon. And when they do that, that's where we're going.
That's gonna be interesting, because I definitely I always thought about getting into Bitcoin, but I was not too sure about it. But I definitely would like to know more information about it, because right now, I mean, I'm live on my Spotlight Raiders Talk. I'm on my Twitter. So yeah, I'm live on my Twitter too. So
okay, yeah, no doubt. We can talk at a later time, no doubt.
Absolutely, man. But bro, I thank you for coming up on here, man. It was definitely great talking to you. Finally was able to get this done. If you're up for it next Tuesday, you let me know, and we can get this thing working. I do have Drew Cole's Sports Talk coming up. They are a sports podcast, but they do all sports, but they do cover majority Raiders content as well. So Drew Cole's Sports Talk will probably be up here next week. So we can definitely have you up as well. In M85, we do know that since Sam McCormick is out for the season, the injury is unknown, but hopefully it's probably most likely a knee injury or a leg injury or anything of that nature. Whatever it is, we wish them the best. And before we head out, I want to send my prayers out to the 14 students and the teacher that got killed in Texas. That is very disturbing to hear, because right before I went live, that happened. So prayers go out to Texas. Prayers go out to all those families that lost their child to endless act of violence, that just want to run up into a school and just shoot up kids when it's not even the kids' fault. They come in there to get an education, you know.
Yeah.
And knowing me, living in Philadelphia, it's a lot of that going on. So a lot of gun violence is in this city, of losing young kids between the ages of 14 and 18. It's crazy. So I don't live in the city anymore, but I'm from the city. I've seen it. So just to hear it's going on in another state, it's like, bro, when will it end? You know? So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick. But
it hits at home for me too, man. I'm about 45 minutes from Oakland, and it's pretty bad out here too, man. We had just a brazen shooting. Just people were shooting, and there was a baby in the backseat that got hit and killed just driving down the road. So it's pretty bad. So yeah, prayers out to them for sure. But yeah, man, I appreciate you for having me on. We will be on the podcast on Friday night. We're gonna have a great time.
Yes. Make sure y'all tune in and y'all subscribe to the channel. Link is in the description. I'm gonna be over there. I'm gonna talk my shit like I do. So
yes, sir. See you there. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
No problem, man. Thank you for being on.
Yes, sir. Go Raiders.
Raider Nation all day. But shout out to my boy Raider Ben in the building. Shout out to Mario Tovar from Raider Ramble. We had a great show today, man. A great show of episode 4 of Nothing But Raiders. Keeping it positive, keeping it fun, man. Make sure y'all comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram at Spotlight Raiders Talk. Follow me on Twitter at Spotlight Art and Talk. We definitely are in the building, y'all. We're going to be trying to do these live streams more, man. I'm going to try to go live more. I'll probably go live at work tomorrow due to the fact that I'm doing a double tomorrow. So y'all can hang out with me while I'm at work. And y'all know I always do that. Always do that. But let me know what y'all think, Raider Nation. Let me know what y'all think. Make sure y'all comment, like, and subscribe. It is the Spotlight Raiders Talk. We see you in the next live stream or in the next video. Until then, thank you for tuning into another Nothing But Raiders podcast. We're out of here, y'all. Peace, love, and blessings. One.
Try to drain my energy, the enemy is everything. It's mentally, unhealthily, spreading like a rare disease, but I won't let it get to me. I don't need your therapy.